Marvel 12 Talismans. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. My girlfriend is the daughter of the New York City Police Commissioner. A spider leg thrust forward like a sharp blade, and the spider sense sent out a strong alarm. Gwen subconsciously dodged sideways, and the wall was penetrated in an instant. The remaining sharp blades attacked again, blocking all her space for movement for a while. Even though Gwen was very flexible, her back was scratched by 3 spider legs. It was another short close-range confrontation. Facing the 8 flexible and sharp spider legs, Gwen could only barely resist. Gwen immediately decided to terminate today's exploration plan. She could still entangle with the lizard man for a long time. After all, the lizard man's attack power was not strong, but his defense and recovery ability were strong. But facing the spider beastman, it was difficult for her to find a chance of winning. The spider beastman not only had a healing ability comparable to that of the lizard man, but his own attack was even more powerful. The 8 spider legs were like 8 peerless swords. It was estimated that only the devil could defeat the spider beastman. Gwen once again escaped from the fierce attack of the spider beastman. She sprayed spider silk at the high-rise building next to her and pulled her body away. She looked back in the air. The spider beastman still hadn't given up. He continued to chase Gwen like a beast that would never give up. But fortunately, the spider beastman was not very fast. He couldn't use spider silk to move. He could only run on the ground. This was probably his only weakness. Gwen walked a few kilometers away on the spider silk. She felt the discomfort of the wound on her back getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, Gwen's own recovery ability had greatly improved after the mutation. Although it couldn't be compared with the terrifying recovery ability of the lizard man, it was far better than ordinary people. But now the wound on her back hadn't even stopped bleeding. The blood was still flowing, soaking the spider suit made of sports fiber. She instantly thought of a possibility. The spider legs that grew out of the back of the spider beastman were all toxins. This was too bad. Gwen stopped firing spider silk and decided to find a place to treat her wounds first. After casually observing the surroundings, she spotted a single-family villa with all the lights turned off. Every family should have an emergency medical kit. The family was asleep, and she wouldn't disturb them with her sensitivity. Gwen sneaked into the single-family villa. Luo Xia, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly opened his eyes. He reached out and took out the demon mask from the side and put it on his face. He turned on the invisibility and flew out of the window. Luo Xia went around to the living room on the 2nd floor. He stood outside the French window and looked inside. He actually saw a thief looking for something in his house. What he didn't expect was that this person was Spider-Gwen. Even if the light in the room was not good, Luo Xia would not mistake the recognizable white and black uniform. Gwen, who was looking for the emergency medical kit, was stunned. She turned her head and looked out the window. There was nothing there, but the spider sense had clearly alerted her just now. Gwen shook her head, thinking that it was probably because the battle tonight was too intense and her nerves were too tense, causing the spider sense to go wrong. Luo Xia looked for a few times and moved again. He went around to the back of the villa, where a huge spider was climbing. "It's so ugly," Luo Xia said lightly. The spider beastman also saw Luo Xia, a man in pajamas. He saw the demon mask, which looked even more strange and terrifying in the dark night. His 8 spider legs bent and exerted force, and his whole body flew up to attack Luo Xia in the air. Luo Xia raised his right hand lightly. Dragon talisman explosion. Boom. A huge column of flames shot out, and all the powerful energy poured into the spider beastman. The dragon talisman had been upgraded to LV6 by Luo Xia, and its power was simply many times stronger than before. The spider beastman was blasted dozens of meters away before he even had time to scream. Half of his body was swallowed by the high temperature. After landing, he struggled to get up and used his broken legs to escape. Luo Xia watched from a distance and had no intention of chasing him. Such a weak mutant could not even withstand the full force of his dragon talisman. If the dragon talisman had hit his head just now, he would have been completely killed. I don't know where Gwen got into trouble with such a spider monster again. It's obvious that this spider monster followed her to her home, probably tracking it by smell, but Gwen herself hasn't noticed it yet. Luo Xia entered the villa and took off the demon mask after returning to her room. Gwen had already hidden against the wall. When the dragon spell was activated just now, there was such a large energy fluctuation, it's impossible for her not to notice it. Gwen was a little nervous. She didn't even know what kind of enemy she would face next, a spider beastman or something else. She was in a very bad state now. She could already confirm that the spider beastman was poisonous, and more importantly, his spider legs contained anesthetic ingredients. Gwen even felt that she would fall down in the next moment. While Gwen was thinking, she heard footsteps. She stopped thinking and was ready to go. Luo Xia pushed the door open and entered. Facing Gwen's several attacks, he easily dodged. Gwen couldn't help but be horrified. Her attacks were all in vain. Could it be that the anesthetic ingredients had taken effect and reduced her speed? She threw a punch again, but suddenly the other party turned on the light in the room. Looking at that face, she stopped her punch abruptly. "It's you? Why are you here?" Gwen was surprised. "First of all, this is my home. Where else would I be if I'm not here? Secondly, do we know each other?" Luo Xia asked back. "Of course, I don't know you. I should say I don't know you. But you must know me, right?" Gwen breathed a sigh of relief after recognizing Luo Xia. She walked to the sofa and sat down, casually looking around the room. She didn't expect that the place she randomly found was Luo Xia's home, but she did remember that Luo Xia also lived in Queens. But this was too coincidental. "I know you, the notorious criminal Spider-Woman," Luo Xia said lightly. "What do you want to do by breaking into my home today? Commit some crime against me? Let me remind you that my girlfriend's father is the commissioner of the New York City Police Department." Gwen was still very angry when she was called a notorious criminal, but she couldn't get angry anymore after hearing Luo Xia's last words. Luo Xia actually lied to others that she was his girlfriend. Is this what he really thinks in his heart? Gwen couldn't help but think wildly. "Your girlfriend is actually the daughter of the police chief. Well, that's really amazing." Gwen laughed in her heart. "And I want to correct one thing. Spider-Woman is not a criminal. She is a righteous superhero." After teasing Gwen, Luo Xia couldn't help laughing. He shook his head and said, "A superhero who illegally breaks into a citizen's house in the middle of the night and attacks the citizen when he is investigating. Only criminals would do this." Chapter 27 Early Morning. "Okay, listen to my explanation. This is actually a misunderstanding." Gwen continued to argue. "Obviously this is not a misunderstanding, this is a crime." Luo Xia was not willing to give in. "Okay, I'll tell you the truth." Gwen began to perform. "Actually, I just stopped a crime. They were trading drugs. One of the parties has been executed and was tied up by me with spider silk, but the other party escaped. During our chase, he fled into your house." "It sounds reasonable." "Of course it's reasonable." Gwen sighed. "You know, those guys are extremely vicious. I followed them in because I was afraid they would do something to innocent people. I just thought you were the criminals, but now that I'm entangled with you, I guess they have already run away. I interfered with your pursuit of criminals." "I'm so sorry," Luo Xia said cooperatively. "Don't apologize. You don't know either." "I didn't want to tell you, but you kept asking me," Gwen said. "Why else would I go into your house?" Spider-Woman is righteous. She helped the police deal with the lizard man a few days ago. "Have you read the newspaper?" "I did. But the newspaper said the Devil and Spider-Woman teamed up with the lizard man to launch a terrorist attack on the Brooklyn Bridge," Luo Xia said lightly. "Which newspaper is so confusing?" "Okay, forget about the Daily Bugle you read." Gwen held her forehead. "Next time, remember to read some regular newspapers, such as the New York Daily. And don't ask me why I know you read the Daily Bugle. Spider-Woman is omnipotent." "Okay, I won't talk nonsense with you." "Can you leave my house, the omnipotent Spider-Woman?" "I'm going to sleep." Luo Xia grabbed the belt of her pajamas and said, "Many people want to see me but don't have the chance, and you don't know how to cherish it." "Okay, I'm leaving now. Don't regret it." Gwen turned around and prepared to leave. She turned back and said, "Are you sure you don't want my autograph or a photo?" and then take them to show off to your friends? Show off that Spider-Woman sneaked into my house late at night? You are not good at chatting. You definitely lied to me just now. You don't have a girlfriend. Gwen frowned and said. She was about to leave from the balcony. Suddenly, her eyes went black and she felt dizzy. Her whole body lost strength and fell down, and finally fell into someone's arms. Fortunately, Luo Xia hugged her. The last moment Gwen's consciousness dissipated, she only remembered that this embrace was very solid. Luo Xia was a little confused about the situation, but after he hugged Gwen, he felt the blood and wounds on Gwen's back, and he slowly guessed the cause and effect of the matter. Luo Xia put Gwen on the sofa and crawled, and took off her spider mask. Her golden hair was scattered, and her delicate and moving face looked much more pleasing to the eye than the spider mask. Luo Xia filled a basin with hot water and found a clean towel. He first simply cleaned the blood on Gwen's back wound. He pressed his fingers on the wound, and a faint light flowed through his fingertips. Horse charm, healing. The wound healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. After the wound scabbed, Luo Xia stopped the healing power of the horse charm. He did not continue to use the horse charm to remove the anesthetic components in Gwen's body. In such a situation, even if Gwen wakes up, it will be very embarrassing, right? So Luo Xia thoughtfully let her continue to sleep until tomorrow morning. Luo Xia was going to go back to his room to sleep, and he did not forget to bring back the spider mask for Gwen before he left. Good night. He turned off the lights and said, "Dot." The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on the streets and alleys of Queens, shining in from the French windows and hitting Gwen's face. Suddenly the door was pushed open, and Gwen was awakened. She bounced up from the sofa and turned around and stuck to the ceiling. "I just came to wake you up." Luo Xia stood against the door frame and said. Gwen fell from the ceiling in an instant. She sat on the sofa with her legs crossed, sitting elegantly and charmingly. "This is your home." "I was injured and fainted in your home." Gwen woke up and saw Luo Xia, a little confused. After a while, she sorted out the situation through her memories. "No need to pay for accommodation," Luo Xia said and turned to leave. "I made breakfast. If you want to eat, go downstairs. If you don't want to eat breakfast, leave quickly. Be careful when you leave. Don't be discovered by the neighbors. I don't want to hear some bad rumors about myself." Gwen followed Luo Xia downstairs. "What happened last night?" Luo Xia stopped on the stairs. He turned around and looked at Gwen and said, "You want to ask what I did to you last night?" "I didn't do anything. If you feel regretful, we can do it now." "Don't you have a girlfriend?" "And I'm Spider-Woman." Luo Xia ignored this chatterbox. If he didn't know that the person under the spider mask was Gwen, he would have given her a dragon spell long ago. "Are you sure you don't want to eat something?" Luo Xia asked while spreading butter on the bread. "Of course not. Superheroes don't need to eat. You'll know when you become a superhero one day." Gwen lied. "The main reason is that you have to take off the mask to eat, and Luo Xia will recognize you. You can't take off half of the mask, right? Eating like that is not ladylike." "What I want to ask is, you didn't take off my spider mask, did you?" Gwen said with some worry. But if Luo Xia knew the truth, she wouldn't be so calm and indifferent, right? "The more you know, the less safe you are." "I understand this," Luo Xia said. "I'm just an ordinary good citizen. My hobby is to care for classmates and help others. I didn't take off the mask to see your face, so don't bother me in the future. Don't bother me, otherwise I will write to the Daily Bugle and tell them that a strange woman wearing a strange spider uniform often illegally enters my house and sexually harasses me." "Miss Spider, you don't want people to know this, right?" "Who will come to harass you?" Gwen was very disdainful. "I am the most popular person on social networking sites recently, and my fans are all over Queens." "Correction. The most popular one is the devil," Luo Xia said lightly while eating a sandwich. "It's Spider-Woman." Gwen turned and left. She left through the window. Goodbye. Swinging on the spider web in New York in the early morning, Gwen still felt a little scared when she recalled her experience last night. The spider beast who suddenly appeared was simply the strongest opponent she had encountered recently. Well, except for the devil, if she hadn't met Luo Xia, last night would have been terrible. Fortunately, Luo Xia was by her side after she fell into a coma. Otherwise her identity as Spider-Woman would have been exposed. The reason Luo Xia gave for not taking off her mask was very sufficient, and Gwen really believed it. After all this was in line with Luo Xia's character, and he was not a curious person. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Prom. In Zhongcheng Technology, the teacher announced the start time of the graduation dance. The students screamed excitedly, and at this time they were exchanging glances with the potential dance partners they would invite. Gwen also cast her eyes on Luo Xia, but did not get any response. Luo Xia was distracted, or he did not think that this graduation dance would be very interesting. The bell rang, the teacher left the classroom, and some brave students were looking for dance partners on the spot. "Hey Gwen, can you be my dance partner?" Gwen is a beautiful rich girl who likes her in school. In just a few minutes, Gwen received invitations from several boys, but she rejected them all. After all, she had a general relationship with these boys and could only call them by name. Luo Xia had packed her backpack and was waiting for her at the back door. "Luo Xia, who will you invite to be your dance partner at the graduation dance?" Gwen saw someone approaching Luo Xia. It was Hannah, who had a good relationship with him. Hannah also wanted Luo Xia to be her dance partner. They had a good relationship. Luo Xia would not agree to her directly, right? Gwen quickly got rid of the entanglement. She walked up and took Luo Xia's hand, which seemed to be a statement of sovereignty. Seeing Gwen and Luo Xia's intimacy, Hannah and Gwen's admirers were heartbroken. "Sorry, I'm not very interested in prom or anything like that." Luo Xia rejected Hannah's invitation. Hannah walked away dejectedly. Gwen looked at her back and said, "You should find a better excuse." "This is not an excuse. It's a fact. I'm really not interested in prom," Luo Xia said. "Okay." The two walked out of the classroom. Luo Xia's words made Gwen not know how to speak. She had originally mustered up the courage to invite Luo Xia to be her dance partner. It happened that she had a collection of many dance music at home. The two of them could pick it up and practice it, so that they could surprise everyone on the day of the graduation dance. But unfortunately, Luo Xia didn't seem to have this intention. Was he really not interested in the graduation dance, or was this just a pretext to reject them? Gwen couldn't help but wonder, who else could Luo Xia invite to be his dance partner besides her and Hannah? Mary Jane, Betty Brant, Gloria Grant? There are only a few famous beauties in Midtown Tech. Thinking about these things is bound to give people a headache. Suddenly Gwen heard someone next to her talking about further studies, and she stopped thinking about these things. "Which university will you apply to? Do you have a favorite school?" Gwen turned to look at Luo Xia. It is already October. Usually, 12th graders who have completed credits at this time will apply for universities. The deadline for early applications is in early November and mid-November, and regular applications are usually completed at the end of December. Not yet. There is still plenty of time. I want to see. Luo Xia looked at Gwen. What about you? Luo Xia didn't even have the idea of going to college. After all, many major events will happen in the Marvel world in the future, and it should be difficult for a student to balance his studies and complete the devil's career. Stanford University, Cambridge University, University of London. That's it? Or New York University? Gwen looked at Luo Xia with a twinkling look in her eyes and explained, "If I stay in New York, I can continue to work in Dr. Connor's team. It's a good social practice position, with both scientific research and management." Luo Xia understood what she meant. He leaned into Gwen's ear and said, "Stay in New York. I'll think about it." Gwen's face was slightly red. "No, you can make this decision directly." Luo Xia was not satisfied with Gwen's answer. "Okay, I will stay in New York. I love New York," Gwen promised. The two came to the parking lot and found Luo Xia's broken Ford. Gwen sat in the co-pilot and threw her backpack into the backseat skillfully. New York has been very uneasy recently. Gangs are in power, the Devil and Spider-Woman are still at large, and the new Lizard Man has not been solved. The crime rate is rising, and people are robbed and killed by guns every day. In this environment, Mrs. Stacy was very worried about Gwen's safety, but George was delayed by the police station and could not pick up Gwen every day, even though Gwen emphasized countless times that she could go home alone. Mrs. Stacy asked Luo Xia to take on this task. The little broken car started, and Gwen lay comfortably on the co-pilot. She looked at Luo Xia sideways. It was strange that Luo Xia did not talk to her about Spider-Woman today, and he did not share with her the experience of Spider-Woman sleeping at his house last night. Did Luo Xia really have no feelings for Spider-Woman? In his opinion, he just rescued an ordinary citizen last night, and there was no need to show off. Or maybe he really regarded Spider-Woman as a criminal, and mentioning this to others would only cause trouble. This made Gwen a little discouraged. After all, the superhero she played could not attract Luo Xia's love. Suddenly Gwen thought of another possibility. Did Luo Xia think that Spider-Woman was also a girl, and he didn't want to let himself misunderstand that a girl stayed at his house last night? The more Gwen thought about it, the more reasonable it seemed. Luo Xia must have thought so. So he chose to conceal it. I saw on the internet that someone saw Spider-Woman in Queens last night. You also live in Queens. Did you see Spider-Woman? Gwen asked tentatively. Queens is very big, and I went to bed early last night. Luo Xia said so. Gwen couldn't find any fault. She understood Luo Xia's montage-like lie. Luo Xia didn't lie to her, and didn't want her to know what happened with Spider-Woman last night. That's a pity. Gwen stopped entangled in this topic. Good luck. You sleep late tonight. I hope you can meet Spider-Woman. Then tonight is a terrible night. No, it's wonderful. Spider-Woman will bring you good luck, Gwen said, grabbing Luo Xia's hand that was shifting gears. Luo Xia looked at the black Mercedes-Benz following him in the rearview mirror. He silently opened the system mall and spent 2,500 villain points to exchange for driving mastery. The old Ford car in his hand became flexible instantly. Luo Xia stimulated its full performance and quickly interspersed in the traffic. Soon Luo Xia got rid of the people following behind him. Why are you driving so fast? Gwen said, holding the handle tightly. Your driving skills are beyond my imagination. I think you can participate in underground competitions, but you have to change to a better car. I didn't break any traffic rules, Luo Xia said casually. I drove fast and steadily. A few minutes later, Luo Xia parked the car downstairs of Gwen's building. You're here. He was in a hurry to go back and cause trouble for those people. He couldn't think of anyone other than Osborn's people. Go upstairs for dinner? My mother made a roast chicken. The roast chicken is delicious, but let's do it next time, Luo Xia said. Wait for me downstairs tomorrow morning. Chapter 29 Green Devil. Outside the Osborn headquarters building, a green figure was hovering in the air. He was stepping on a flying machine and constantly performing various difficult flying movements in the air. He was wearing a high-tech green steel armor and a mask full of horror on his face. He was the villain Green Devil. The identity under the mask of the first generation of Green Devil was the chairman of the Osborn Group, Norman Osborn. At this moment, Norman changed his usual calm and gloomy mentality. He was like a bird just out of the cage enjoying the free sky. He vented his long-suppressed emotions to the fullest, so much so that he was a little crazy. The reason why he became so excited and crazy was also very simple. He solved his hereditary disease. From then on, he didn't need to fear the god of death every day, and that long gray life finally ended. The truth of the matter was also full of drama. His subordinate Reddy died at the hands of the devil. After Reddy's death, the lizard serum plan was also declared a failure. At this moment, Norman's genetic disease is already incurable, and he has no time to start the next research. In order to prolong his life, Norman can only find salvation from his previous failed products. There are two reagents in front of him. One is lizard serum. After Dr. Connors injected the serum, he became a lizard man. Although he became a monster, his broken arm was cured. The second is spider serum. Although this project, which he had high hopes for, ended in failure, the team also gave results. Spider serum can solve his disease and prolong his life, but the disadvantage is that the serum contains a huge amount of toxins that cannot be cleared. Almost all experimental subjects died from the toxins of spider serum. After thinking for a long time, Norman, who was bedridden, chose to inject spider serum. Before that, He put on a set of mechanical life support devices to neutralize the toxins in the spider serum and maintain his body functions, that is, the Green Goblin armor. In this way, Norman started his life extension plan. The results showed that he was lucky and God favored him again. The plan was successful. Norman not only extended his life, but the spider serum and the Green Goblin armor combined to form a powerful individual. The Green Goblin. Norman stood on the Batwing aircraft and flew quickly and happily, turning back and forth and doing a few somersaults. He felt the endless vitality pouring into his dry torso again, and he seemed to have been reborn. Because of the long-term torture of the disease, his psychology had been distorted. Coupled with the catalysis of the biological armor, the genes of violence and destruction broke out in his heart. The personality of the businessman Norman retreated, and it was the Green Goblin who occupied his body again. He now only wanted to release the negative emotions he had accumulated. The Green Goblin left wildly, and he turned back from the air again, controlling the aircraft to drop several small Green Goblin bombs. The Green Goblin bombs fell in the crowd. People were still watching curiously. Suddenly, the tennis-sized Green Goblin bombs exploded, and the shrapnel instantly tore the bodies of people nearby. The flames rose more than 10 meters high. The moment the explosion occurred, countless people screamed. The crowds fled in panic. The unlucky people were engulfed by the flames and could only scream in the last few seconds of their lives. The bustling city with heavy traffic instantly turned into a purgatory on Earth. The Green Devil looked at the purgatory on Earth he created with his own hands without any psychological burden. He felt happy in the screams of the crowd and became more excited. Hello, dear friends. The Green Devil controlled the Batwing aircraft to catch up with the scattered crowd and threw the Green Devil bomb again. The Green Devil had never felt so happy. Although he was the chairman of the Osborne Group and had endless wealth and power, he was also tortured by illness and had never felt this kind of unscrupulous, domineering and unrestrained happiness. The Green Devil created destruction to his heart's content. The bustling streets became a ruin and countless innocent people died. Suddenly, the Green Devil saw a figure standing in the air and looking at him expressionlessly. That was Luo Xia, who had just arrived in Osborne to make trouble. Luo Xia watched the Green Devil create destruction calmly without any action to stop him. He had no feelings towards ordinary people who bullied the weak. Luo Xia could not find any pleasure in them. In comparison, he liked to tease those superheroes and evil villains. Of course, Luo Xia would also respect any tragic fate that ordinary people might encounter, such as being hit to death by a car thrown by a superhero, or being blown to death by the Green Devil for fun. The Green Devil looked at the bystander, who was wearing a formal suit and a demon mask on his face. That demon mask looked more upscale than his Green Devil mask, more terrifying and more demonic. Suddenly, the Green Devil had an idea. He wanted to tear off that face. Who are you? The Green Devil controlled the aircraft to slowly approach Luo Xia, and suddenly he remembered many media reports. Are you a demon? He was not unfamiliar with demons. His subordinate already died at the hands of demons. Yes, I am the genuine demon, and you are a copycat version of the Green Devil, Luo Xia said lightly. Swish, swish, swish. A series of Green Devil bombs flew out of the aircraft. Go to hell, demon. The Green Devil looked hideous. Luo Xia calmly stretched out his hand, and those high-speed flying Green Devil bombs stopped instantly. The next second, those tennis-sized bombs quickly turned back and shot at the Green Devil. Chicken spell middle dot float. With Luo Xia's current ability to control spells, he easily dispersed the power of the chicken spell to these bombs. Damn it! The Green Devil controlled the aircraft to dodge quickly. Most of the bombs exploded in the air, and the aftermath of the explosion shattered the glass walls of nearby office buildings. The losses caused by their destruction in just a few minutes were immeasurable. Dragon spell middle dot explosion. Luo Xia activated a powerful flame column in his palm, but the Green Devil evaded it flexibly because the distance was too far. It seemed that the Green Devil also knew that he was not the opponent of the Devil, and he quickly controlled the Batwing aircraft to escape. In the process, he kept throwing Green Devil bombs at the crowd, trying to use the lives of the people to delay Luo Xia's actions. But he made a wrong calculation. Luo Xia actually didn't care about the lives of civilians. Luo Xia activated the rabbit spell to increase his speed. He instantly caught up with the Green Devil and Luo Xia threw a punch. Under the huge force, the Green Devil's body shook violently, and he almost lost his balance and fell. At this moment, the Green Devil had already felt the threat of death, which instantly made him terrified and fell into boundless fear. He had finally gotten rid of the disease and felt free, but now he was going to be killed by the devil. He couldn't accept this result. Chapter 30 Chase. Another explosion of flames passed by the Green Devil's ears, and the terrifying high temperature that overflowed made his face hurt. The demon was too powerful, and he was simply invincible. The Green Devil felt the fear of death. He fled the scene while creating destruction. Luo Xia did not kill him directly. As a small villain, the Green Devil could collect a lot of villain points from him. Luo Xia would make him feel the fear of death repeatedly to earn a lot of villain points. After all, he now needs a lot of villain points to upgrade the dragon spell, and he also needs to prepare for the villain points required to upgrade the next spell. Now his villain points are too much, and he can't waste any villain or superhero that appears. Damn demon, I won't let you go, the Green Devil thought in his heart. When he returns to Osborne, he will add more weapons to the Green Devil's armor to deal with the demon. He continued to throw demon bombs into the crowd, and only by feeling the panic of the crowd could he balance his mood. Suddenly, two spider silks shot out from one side of the building. The two spider silks accurately wrapped the Green Devil bombs and threw them into the air. The Green Devil, boom boom. Two fireworks exploded with amazing power. The Green Demon couldn't dodge in time and was instantly blown away by the aftermath of the bomb. The Green Demon fell to the ground with a scream, and the Batwing aircraft lost control and crashed into a tall building on the side. Luo Xia stopped and looked at the street. An agile white and black figure swung out from between the tall buildings. Good afternoon, Miss Spider. Luo Xia greeted her. I'm not nice at all, Mr. Demon. This ugly monster has caused so much destruction and killing, and you just stood by and watched. Gwen accused the demon. You could have easily stopped him. I'm sorry, I'm not a superhero. No matter how much damage he causes and how many people he kills, it has nothing to do with me. I should even help him according to the division of camps, Luo Xia said with a smile, without any guilt on her face. Gwen held her forehead for a while. She was really confused to say that just now. It was because the demon helped her on the Brooklyn Bridge last time, which made her think that the demon might turn over a new leaf. Miss Spider, since you're here, I will leave this guy to you. Luo Xia flew away slowly. I have to bring fear to others tonight. Luo Xia has already gained a lot of villain points from the Green Demon. It is difficult for him to make the Green Demon feel more fear in a short period of time. With the concept of sustainable development, he decided to let the Green Demon go this time so that he can continue to harvest villain points next time he meets him. He did have other things to do tonight. He was going to Stark Industries. Oh, someone is going to be unlucky again. I don't know if Gwen is talking about the person who was found by the demon, or the Green Demon who will face her next. Who are you? The Green Demon slowly walked out of the dust of the ruins, and the Batwing aircraft controlled by him was suspended beside him. A good neighbor of the citizens, a street friend, a superhero. They all call me Spider-Woman, Gwen said with her arms folded. You don't know me? You are really ignorant. I have heard of you, Spider-Woman. You should be a test subject, the Green Demon said. Gwen couldn't help but frown, as if the villain in front of her had something else to say. Even if I'm a test subject, it looks like I've succeeded. At least I don't have to travel like you, stepping on a flying wheelchair and wearing an ugly mask. Are you cosplaying as a demon? Are you a demon admirer? Gwen responded with words. Damn, stupid demon. He's just a knockoff. A real demon won't be friends with a spider. I am the demon, Green Demon. Please remember this name. The Green Demon jumped onto the Batwing aircraft. The demon actually let you fight me alone. He will regret it. When he sees you again tomorrow, it will be your corpse. First of all, you got one thing wrong. The demon and I are not friends. No one will die today. I will hand you over to the police and let the judge judge the crime you committed, Gwen said as she fired Spider Silk at the Green Demon. The green demon dodged and threw bombs while manipulating the aircraft to approach Gwen. Gwen easily avoided the green demon's bomb attack. The green demon drove the aircraft towards her, and the two sharp bat wings were like blades. After this period of training, Gwen has become a qualified street hero. Her fighting skills have improved greatly, and she is more than enough to deal with the Green Goblin's attack. She dodged the Green Goblin's attack, and just as he was controlling the Batwing aircraft to turn back and attack again, Gwen shot out Spider Silk to grab the bottom of the aircraft. Have you ever played the carousel in the amusement park? Gwen grabbed the Spider Silk and spun it. Under her huge force, the aircraft also spun. The Green Goblin stood on it and swayed, and was almost shot down again. Damn Spider-Woman! The Green Goblin's hatred for Spider-Gwen reached its peak, and he threw Green Goblin bombs crazily. The two of them, one stepping on the aircraft and the other swinging on the Spider Silk, chased each other on the street. Spider-Woman is a tough opponent. She is extremely fast and powerful, and the Green Goblin's attacks almost all missed. Moreover, Spider-Woman's fighting skills are very spiritual. Not only can she dodge the Green Devil's bombs, but she can also use Spider Silk to wrap the bombs to attack the Green Devil. The aftermath of several bombs almost knocked the Green Devil off the aircraft again, but after the battle with the Devil just now, the Green Devil felt that Spider-Woman was not that powerful. At least she could be defeated and killed, and she was not as powerful and frightening as the Devil. The Green Devil was not powerful in Gwen's opinion. The demons, lizards and spider beastmen she had met were more difficult than the Green Devil, but the Green Devil was the most harmful, and the bombs on his body seemed to be endless. It was the first time that Gwen met such a crazy opponent. The Green Devil not only attacked her with bombs, but also often attacked the crowd and blew up buildings. This also greatly consumed Gwen's energy. After all, Gwen was not a cold-blooded demon. She could not turn a blind eye to seeing innocent citizens being hurt. The chase between the two of them had lasted for a long time. The Green Devil was a little crazy when he saw that he could not get away. After all, if he delayed for a while, the police helicopter would arrive. Go to hell. The Green Devil swept past a crowd of people and dropped a few bombs. He looked at the train track and the train speeding in the distance, and a crazy idea was born. Spider-Woman, their death is caused by you. The Green Devil threw all the bombs on his body on the train track. When the bombs exploded, the huge power instantly destroyed the bridge section of the track. No, Gwen exclaimed as she looked at the train that was about to crash. She knew she had to do something. Thanks to the Book Friends 2022053112151487 inches. Book Friends 2022053112151487 inches. Crazy for Lan. And Book Friends 2017121312219213 inches for their rewards. Chapter 31 Mark IV. In the Stark Industrial Building, Tony is debugging his Iron Mech Mark IV. It took a week to make the Mark IV Iron Mech. While waiting for Jarvis to help him load the system into the mech, Tony stared at the progress bar and couldn't help thinking. Mark I Iron Can Mech is the first generation of mesh built by him and Dr. Ethan in the cave. Although it is rough and ugly, Tony still defeated the terrorists and successfully escaped from the terrorist base with this generation of mesh, but unfortunately, Dr. Ethan died under the gun of the terrorists in order to buy him time to start the mech. Mark II is the first set of Stark industrial-level armor, mainly used to test and explore the performance of armor in all aspects. Tony wore this silver-white armor and flew freely in the air for the first time. During the flight, he also found the problem of ice formation in the high-altitude mech. In Mark III, the genius Tony easily solved the problem of ice formation in the high-altitude mech. He sprayed red and yellow spray paint on Mark III, and equipped the shoulders and legs of the mech with a large number of combat weapons. Tony drove the Mark III to clear out several terrorist bases, and unexpectedly had a battle with two military fighters, and finally won. But Tony didn't expect that the iron armor he was proud of would be vulnerable in front of the demon. It can even be said that the demon completely defeated his wisdom and technology. The first is the flying speed. The hands and boots of the iron armor can release arc pulses at the same time, creating ultrasonic waves so that the armor can fly or fly at high speed. But even if he increased the speed to exceed the speed of sound, he couldn't get rid of the demon. Jarvis detected that the speed of the demon reached Mach 2, which was a speed that the Iron Armor Mark III could not reach. Next came the weapon attack. As the world's largest arms dealer, Tony has been associated with arms since he was a child. He equipped his armor with a large number of weapons and the most advanced dynamic tracking and aiming system. But even so, he couldn't hurt the demon. But the demon's attack could easily break his mecha. When the mecha's damage exceeded 60%, he had to land. "Sir, the system has been equipped." Jarvis's prompt interrupted Tony's thoughts. He came back to his senses and focused on the ready Mark IV again. The color of Mark IV is still the classic red and yellow paint. The chest, shoulders and abdomen of the armor are all newly designed, and a new filtering system is added. Although there are not many adjustments in appearance compared to Mark III, there are many changes inside. First, Tony optimized the energy output system of the four main parts of the mecha, greatly increased the output power of the arc pulse, and pursued a higher speed. Secondly, Tony equipped the mecha with more weapons, palm cannons, mini-missiles, built-in missiles in the arms, jammers, and built-in micro-missiles in the shoulder attachment compartment. In order to load more weapons on the mecha, Tony even gave up the portability of the mecha. Today's Mark IV is simply a mobile arsenal. Even if it attacks with firepower coverage, it can hold out for more than half an hour with the enemy. Not only that, Tony also added short-range weapons to the mecha to deal with the close-range attacks launched by the demons or other enemies. For example, the steel mecha is equipped with a single-use laser weapon, which can be used to cut anything in a short time. It is also equipped with high-power energy lightsabers on its arms, which can easily cut steel. No carbon-based creature can resist its cutting with its flesh. Finally, Tony also added the defense system of Mark IV. Now facing the palm cannon and laser eye of the demon, Tony is confident that he can easily deal with it. "Sir, do you want to start the test?" Jarvis asked. "Start the test. Arc pulse test is on. High-speed flight stability test is on." Tony kept giving orders. Mark IV was activated by Jarvis, and a red and yellow high-temperature flame was ignited under its palms and boots. The number on the screen showing the maximum speed that the mecha can reach is constantly rising. High-speed flight stability test. Test successful, Jarvis reminded. Tony's face was heavy, and he stared at the mecha that was still increasing its output power. Finally, the numbers on the screen kept rising and reached twice the speed of sound. The arc pulse test was successful, with a maximum speed of Mach 2. Tony suppressed his excitement and continued to issue instructions. Weapon test, laser weapon test, dual-arm energy lightsaber test. An hour later, with the help of Jarvis, Tony finally completed all the tests on Mark IV. Browsing the data report, Tony couldn't help but cheer, but unfortunately no one could share his joy now. "Devil, I look forward to meeting you next time," Tony said in his heart. Suddenly, the alarm light sounded, and Jarvis sounded the alarm while the alarm was flashing. "Sir, the radar scan detected someone invading the Stark Industrial Building, but the monitoring system did not alarm. The system analyzed that there is a 90% probability that the intruder is a demon." Damn it. Tony was about to ask Jarvis to use the mechanical arm to help him wear the Mark IV, but the automatic door of the laboratory had already opened. "Good evening, Tony Stark." As the voice fell, a figure slowly emerged. Tony's expression was a little unnatural. Recently, he has been thinking about what happened that night. This voice is almost a nightmare for him. The devil was still dressed the same way, with normal clothes and a devil mask, flamboyant and calm. "Good evening, my friend," Tony greeted with a smile. He walked out of the laboratory and came to the bar next to him. "Would you like a glass of whiskey?" "No, please," Luo Xia also said with a smile. He walked straight to the Iron Man armor placed on the side. The Iron Man armor, which had not yet been activated, was also full of technological style, with a streamlined body, reflective metal texture, and the classic red and yellow color scheme, which was very cool. Seeing Luo Xia approaching Mark IV, Tony's expression became even more unnatural, and even the villain system had captured Iron Man's nervous negative emotions. "Is this the new toy you made?" Luo Xia stroked the Iron Man suit with his hand. Obviously this is not a toy. It's called Mark IV. Tony raised his head and drank the wine in the glass, suppressing his emotions. I believe you will face it one day. Would you like to put it on and talk to me? I can give you some time, Luo Xia said jokingly. It seems that you will feel more secure in this iron suit. No, obviously not. Aren't we friends? Tony held his forehead and said, you can tell me what you want now. In fact, he thought the devil's suggestion was very good, and he even had the confidence to defeat the devil by wearing Mark IV, but he couldn't figure out the devil's true intention. After all, the power of Mark IV was exchanged for its lightness. It took him several minutes to put it on. Who knows if the devil would suddenly change his mind in these few minutes. Chapter 32 Spider Suit. The TV screen hanging on the wall in the lounge was broadcasting the evening news. Suddenly, a piece of news attracted both Luo Xia and Tony. A murderer appeared on the streets of New York, and Spider-Woman rescued the out-of-control train. The video first showed the Green Goblin stepping on a flying vehicle and throwing bombs. Then the screen turned and Spider-Woman stood at the front of the train, continuously shooting out spider silk to connect the buildings on both sides, and finally used spider silk to weave a large web, successfully blocking the out-of-control train. At the end of the video, Gwen, who was briefly unconscious after trying hard, fell from the front of the train, but a moment later a spider silk shot out from below, and a figure jumped into the sky again, and then the rescued passengers burst into strong cheers, and they shouted Spider-Woman's name in unison. Is this your friend too? She looks cool, can you introduce me to her? Tony put down his glass and said, I think you should learn from her and stay with justice. Luo Xia retracted his gaze and said lightly, there is a price to pay for upholding justice. Only the evil side needs to pay the price, right? Being judged by justice or something. Tony smiled. That's what it says in literary works. You want to judge me too? Luo Xia smiled. Before that, you have to defeat me first, but it seems that you don't have the ability now. It's time to explain your intentions, Mr. Devil. Tony moved his bracelet, and he sent instructions to Jarvis in this way. Jarvis can control the iron armor in a basic way, such as controlling the aiming and firing of micro-missiles on the mecha, so that Tony at least has the means to fight back when the demon launches an attack. Tony is never a person who sits and waits for death, although if the devil finds out that he is doing these little tricks, it may escalate the situation. I'm here to seek your help on something, or it would be more accurate to say a cooperation. Luo Xia threw a USB flash drive to Tony. Open it and take a look. Tony took the USB flash drive with a doubtful look. He didn't think that he and the devil had any overlapping business. One of the two people is the CEO of a listed company and a playboy, and the other is a criminal who is wanted by the New York police and is still at large. Tony can't think of any cooperation between him and the devil. Tony connected the USB flash drive to the data port of the computer on the bar, and after opening it, he found that the items in the USB flash drive were actually drawings and design parameters. Multifunctional spider suit. I call it the first generation of the Iron Spider suit, which contains all the detailed drawings and design parameters. You will be given a week to complete the manufacturing. The spider suit selected by Luo Xia sold for 40,000 villain points in the mall, which is enough for him to upgrade the dragon spell once, while the drawings and information of the spider suit only cost 7,500. At that time, Luo Xia looked at his system panel and fell into deep thought. Number of villain values, 50,927. Rabbit Talisman LV8. The villain value required to upgrade to LV11 is 16,500. Dragon Talisman LV6. The villain value required to upgrade to LV11 is 225,000. Fortunately, in the early Marvel plots, there are no powerful superheroes and villains. Luo Xia feels that the power of the unsealed talismans is enough, and he has no urgent idea to upgrade the talismans to improve his strength. The villain value is earned quickly, but it is consumed even faster. Moreover, Luo Xia does not know whether the upgrade of the next talisman will consume more villain value after it is unsealed. He can only be frugal. Buying the spider suit directly in the mall is of course not as cost-effective as buying the blueprint and then asking Tony to do hard labor to make the real thing. Of course, Luo Xia has not thought about whether Tony is willing to do this hard labor. After all, Tony is not able to refuse now. If he is unwilling, just beat him to be willing. Did you make all these things? Although I will praise your intelligence, I'm sorry I still have to refuse this cooperation. Tony looked at Luo Xia seriously and said, because you don't have anything that attracts me. You should say this calmly, instead of looking at the drawings with shining eyes. Luo Xia smiled. I know these drawings and data are of great help to you. This spider suit has many outstanding features. You can copy these designs to improve your terrible iron armor. This alone is enough as the reward for your making the spider suit. I admit that many of your ideas are perfect. For example, the defense system you designed is simply a genius move. But I never thought of plagiarizing. Okay, Tony was a little anxious. And my iron armor is not bad. I am very satisfied with it. Especially the Mark IV. I was just about to wear it out for a walk, if you hadn't visited suddenly. Luo Xia just smiled and didn't speak. I really didn't plagiarize your idea, I promise. Tony spread his hands and said, when you leave, you can destroy this computer, so there will be no trace of browsing files. And you can cast a magic to clear some of my memories, so that I can ensure that I won't plagiarize. Aren't you a devil? These should be simple for you, right? In addition to the value of the drawings themselves, I can also make a condition you can't refuse. Luo Xia said coldly. What is that? Tony didn't have the talent to read people's expressions. He continued. Money? You know I'm a super rich man. Power? Sorry, I'm not interested in that thing. It's your life. Luo Xia stretched out his hand and aimed at the assembled Mark IV armor on the side, and lit up a dragon-shaped pattern in his palm. Explosion. Luo Xia used all his strength to activate the dragon spell, and a huge dragon flame beam shot out. The high-temperature energy dissipated in the air, and even Tony, who was not far away, felt a burning sensation. The bomb loaded on the iron armor was detonated, and the entire laboratory was instantly turned into a ruin. Fortunately, the Mark IV was still in the testing phase and did not carry a full load of ammunition. Otherwise the entire Stark industrial building would be affected. The light and dust dissipated, and the Mark IV, which was still bright and beautiful a second ago, became a pile of rubble in the ruins. Half of the iron body was melted, and a big hole was blasted out in the wall behind it. Luo Xia was very satisfied with the power of the LV6 dragon spell. He turned his head and looked at Tony, who was already sluggish. Tony was shocked. After his test, his iron armor was enough to resist the demon's attack, but who knew that the demon actually held back last time? The demon hit the Mark IV's defense system and it was completely destroyed, and the ammunition loaded inside was detonated. This scene brought him too much shock. However, after looking at the blueprints and information of the iron spider suit 1 inch given to him by the demon, he also realized that there were still many places for his armor to be upgraded and improved. The upgraded iron armor will have a qualitative leap, but he is not sure whether he can fight the devil after wearing the upgraded iron armor. Chapter 33 Invitation. Tony couldn't imagine what the devil was like. He had such powerful strength and the spider suit design that even he admired. Behind those genius ideas, there needed to be a strong talent for scientific research and profound scientific knowledge. Tony never thought that the drawings and materials were stolen by the devil from somewhere else. If so, they could only be stolen from some advanced alien civilization, because Tony believed that there was no human on Earth with a higher talent and attainments in weapon design than him. There were also many designs in the drawings that did not exist on the market today, and the level of technology was at least several years ahead of the world's development. Tony was sure of this because he was a first-class scientist and inventor. Now, make your choice. Luo Xia looked at Tony quietly. In fact, he had already got the answer. The villain value on the system panel was jumping rapidly. Detected Iron Man severe fear. Villain value plus 400, plus 400, plus 400. Detected Iron Man's mild anger. Villain value plus 200, plus 200, plus 200. Detected Iron Man severe tension. Villain value plus 300, plus 300, plus 300. The devil stood there like a gentleman, but Tony felt the threat of death. It seemed that the devil would raise his right hand in the next moment and kill himself with his powerful palm cannon. cooperation. I like cooperation. Cooperation will bring win-win results. Tony drank strong liquor to calm down. I told you that you have many genius ideas in the blueprints, which gave me a lot of inspiration, such as this spider silk launcher, which looks very versatile. Maybe I will add 2 spider silk launchers to Mark V. After all, the Mark IV that I carefully researched has been blown into a pile of scrap metal by you. I mean, it's quite interesting to swing around in the city. Swoosh. Tony was flustered and a little incoherent. He was not so afraid when facing terrorists in the cave. It seemed that the devil symbolized the unknown and fear, but this was also a normal reaction. 2 months ago, he had not put on the iron armor and was just a rich man who liked to spend money and drink. Now, even if he put on the iron armor, he never thought of becoming a hero. Okay, if you choose to cooperate, we will still be friends, Luo Xia threatened lightly. Of course friends. This iron spider suit Generation 1, are you going to give it to your other friend Spider-Woman? Tony asked gossipingly. Otherwise, with my ability, do I still need to shrink in the iron tortoise shell? Luo Xia asked back. It seems unnecessary, Tony said, gritting his teeth. He could only endure the ridicule of the devil. After all, his iron turtle shell was blown into scrap metal, so don't think about doing anything to the spider suit. Although it can't affect me, it will make me angry. A week, Luo Xia said and turned away. As a friend, I want to remind you that there is something wrong with your body. No, friend, my body is fine, Tony shouted at his back. As a devil, don't curse others casually. And you just destroyed my laboratory. Didn't you think about compensation? Luo Xia stopped, and as soon as he turned around, Tony hurriedly said, it's just a little joke, my friend. I'm a billionaire. This loss is nothing. The demon continued to leave, and Tony chose to keep silent. It was not until Jarvis reminded him that the demon had left the Stark Industrial Building that he breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Jarvis, make an appointment for me for a personal physical examination tomorrow. At 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, Luo Xia was awakened by the shrill ringtone again in his sleep. I think you must have something to do, Ms. Gwen, Luo Xia said to the phone unhappily. He didn't need to look at the caller to know who it was, because Luo Xia's social circle is very simple. There are very few people who know his phone number, and Gwen is the only one who dares to disturb him late at night. You seem angry. You wouldn't have gone to bed so early, right? Gwen said weakly. Well, it's really annoying to be disturbed just after going to bed, but I didn't deliberately choose this time to call, because I also thought and hesitated for a long time. You know, some decisions are difficult to make. You should talk about the call, instead of talking about irrelevant nonsense all the time. Luo Xia said helplessly. Is there something urgent to share with me? Spider-Woman is staying at your house tonight? Did the devil come to my door? Or will Mrs. Stacy make sandwiches tomorrow morning and tell me not to go to the convenience store to buy breakfast? Unfortunately, neither of them, Gwen said with a smile. It seemed that Luo Xia was not really angry. But speaking of Spider-Woman, do you know that she intercepted a runaway train today? There were hundreds of people on the train, and she saved hundreds of lives. She is simply too great. I saw it on TV, but I also saw that the train ran out of control because of her fight with the Green Demon, and in the end the Green Demon managed to escape. Luo Xia said faintly. It was just an accident, and the fault was the evil Green Demon, not the justice defending Spider-Woman, Gwen promised. Also, Spider-Woman will definitely catch the Green Demon next time. I'm going to talk about something. Don't interrupt. Well, I'm listening. I'm calling you tonight about the graduation dance that will start next week at school. Gwen tried to keep a calm tone, although she had consumed a lot of courage to say these words. Can you be my dance partner? Luo Xia. At the last graduation dance in high school, there was a brief silence on the phone. Gwen was sure that she was not so nervous this afternoon when facing the crazy Green Devil and intercepting the out-of-control train. Don't tell me that you are so entangled until now and disturbing my sleep just because of this matter. I'm not entangled until now, Gwen retorted quickly. It's just that I just finished all my studies and work now, and then I had a little fun and called you before going to bed. You know, the academic masters are very busy, and this is not a trivial matter. In my opinion, It is very important. Of course, if someone else has invited you and you have agreed, then it's fine. After all, many people are willing to be my dance partner. Harry, Noah, William, Ricardo, Daniel. I promised you. Gwen was not done talking when Luo Xia interrupted her. I promised to be your dance partner. And are you sure those names you just listed are not random? Why did I hear my name? It's just a duplicate name. It's normal to have the same name. Gwen also found something wrong, but she still stubbornly refuted. Then come to my house after school tomorrow afternoon. I will tutor you, and practice dance music at my house after dinner. I will teach you the dance steps. Chapter 34 Dance. As night fell, the auditorium of Midtown Tech lit up, looking through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. The lights were brilliant, revealing a luxurious atmosphere everywhere. There is no doubt that Midtown Tech is a famous aristocratic college in New York. Most of the students are either rich or noble, and most of them are children of political executives or wealthy businessmen. For example, Harry Osborn is the only heir to the Osborn Group, and Gwen Stacy is the daughter of the commissioner of the New York City Police Department. This aristocratic college also attaches great importance to the annual graduation party. After all, it means that every prospective college student will bid farewell to their high school days and prepare to enter a higher institution. This graduation party is still very luxurious. The sponsors are famous New York groups. The school and student clubs jointly host the party, striving to make every detail perfect, leaving every student who attends the party with a deep and unforgettable high school memory. When entering the campus, the students all know where to go. The only building on campus that is lit up has a strange glass wall with a technological style. On this special night, all the lights of the building are lit up, making it particularly gorgeous. The cadres of the student union were all wearing black dresses. They stood in 2 rows at the door to welcome the guests. The guests tonight were only familiar classmates and invited faculty members. Every time they met an acquaintance, they would chat for a few words and then calmly return to the queue. They had white handkerchiefs or crimson roses in their jacket pockets. Everyone's expression and movements were solemn and dignified, but they still revealed a sense of immaturity in their disguised mature movements. This little scene could not frighten the rich young masters and young ladies who were used to high-end occasions. Even if the students of the student union rolled out the red carpet, they could casually hold the hands of the people around them and walk through with ease. But there are lower classes everywhere, and this aristocratic college is no exception. For example, Gordon, who did not invite a dance partner, could only go around to the back door in shame when he saw the big occasion at the door from a distance. This kind of thing often varies from person to person. For example, Peter Parker, who is also a lower class, is much more casual. Peter actually played the role of a photographer at the party. Not only did he take a lot of photos of the luxuriously decorated venue, but now he was standing at the door, pressing the shutter at the students passing by. Everyone would give him a smile that they thought was cool and beautiful. The engine of the supercar roared, and a silver-white Aston Martin pierced through the darkness like a sword and drove quickly. The pedestrians on the road panicked and avoided. When they were angry and ready to curse, they saw the person in the driver's seat clearly and could only clench their fists to hold back their anger. The supercar made a harsh noise when it braked suddenly, and the tires left 2 black marks on the road. After the speed dropped, the car body swung directly across the middle of the road. A sharp-eyed student leader was already waiting at the bottom of the stairs. After the car stopped, he leaned over and opened the door. A man in an Armani black suit came down. He showed a false smile and nodded to the people. When he reached out to button the suit, the cuffs pulled up to reveal the Constantin watch on his wrist. Harry Osborn. He is very popular in school. Even though not many people like him, there are still many people willing to be around him, because he has a nickname, the Green Goblin. Harry is generous and always rewards his younger brothers with green dollars. Harry went around from the front of the car to the passenger seat, and a girl in a gorgeous dress walked out after the door opened. Gloria Grant, one of Gwen's good friends, was lucky to be Harry's dance partner tonight. She was able to ride Harry's luxury sports car into the campus and reach the venue. Tonight she was envied, which greatly satisfied her vanity, so her face was full of smiles at the moment. Harry took Gloria's arm and entered the venue. The president of the student union immediately came up to greet him. After all, the Osborne Group was also one of the main sponsors tonight. As the heir of the Osborne Group, it was also the main job of the president of the student union to satisfy Harry tonight. The student union cadre who opened the car door for Harry became a parking attendant, but no one looked down on him for currying favor with the rich. After all, there are different levels of rich young masters, and people like them are more likely to position themselves clearly in social situations. "Hey Harry, and the beautiful Glory, look at my camera," Peter said, leaning forward slightly as he held up the camera at the door. "Peter, long time no see." Harry waited for him to finish taking the photo and then came forward to say hello. His attitude towards Peter was much more enthusiastic than that of the student union president. "It's true that we haven't seen each other for a long time, Harry," Peter said, looking at the camera intently without looking up. "You look a little different. Is it a new style for the dance?" Harry said, looking at Peter's flamboyant hairstyle and clothes. "But you look great." "Who's your dance partner, Mary Jane?" "No, I don't have a dance partner tonight," Peter said to Harry with a smile, without any embarrassment on his face. "I'm not here to dance tonight. I have other things to do." "Photography, or something?" "Well, that's not important. I wish you a good night." "I should say this to you." Peter raised his eyebrows and pointed to Gloria beside Harry. "I wish you a good night." Harry suddenly looked a little embarrassed. "Okay, you have indeed changed, Peter. You were not so frivolous before." At the same time, an old and broken Ford car slowly drove into the campus and finally stopped in the side parking space outside the auditorium. The doors on both sides opened at the same time, and Luo Xia and Gwen walked out, holding hands and walking towards the main entrance. Luo Xia wore a fitted black suit, without any extra accessories. He didn't comb his hair in a classical and elegant style like the other boys, and applied olive-scented hair oil to make it shiny. He just washed his hair and dried it with a hair dryer, and then shaped it a little, which made him look more casual. Gwen's dress was much more meticulous and careful. She wore a silver crystal dress and a set of custom-made gold and amethyst jewelry that reflected the street lights and looked particularly dazzling. Her long, smooth golden hair was neatly combed, and she wore 10-centimeter-high Mary Jane high heels. These details also showed everyone's personality and mentality towards the ball. Luo Xia was too lazy to make trouble, but Gwen took it very seriously. "You should go around to the passenger seat to open the door for me after getting off the car. That would be gentlemanly enough." Gwen smiled, but complained unhappily. "Is there a possibility that you got off first?" Luo Xia said. "That's because I know you won't open the door for me," Gwen said viciously. "I discovered a magical book called Sherlock Holmes. I want to learn from this book and not write in a perfunctory manner. I must try my best to improve the quality of my work. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Opening. Arriving at the door, Luo Xia handed over the formal invitation sent by the student union to every graduate invited to the dance. As dance partners, their names were written on the same invitation: Ricardo M. Luo, Gwen Stacy. Luo Xia's simple action of handing over the invitation scared the student union cadre. Luo Xia's reputation was also very popular in just a few weeks. Students seemed to think of violence when they saw him, even though he had not bullied many people. "Please come in. I wish you a good night." The student cadre pushed open the glass door and said, "Peter, let's take a photo together." Peter was looking down at the camera screen at the side at this moment, and ignored the student cadre's greeting, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. The student cadre was also one of Gwen's many admirers. Peter's ignoring made him feel embarrassed in front of Gwen, even though Gwen had never paid attention to him tonight with her dance partner. "Peter, didn't you hear me?" "Forget it. We don't like taking pictures." Gwen interrupted him with a smile, and then pulled Luo Xia into the venue. Luo Xia was pulled away by Gwen. He subconsciously turned his head to look at Peter, and happened to meet Peter's eyes as he looked up at their backs. That look was particularly cold, and there was even a bit of cruelty in the coldness. Luo Xia was stunned for a moment, and gave Peter a bright smile. If something happened tonight, it would be great. Ordinary dances are boring, and Luo Xia also agrees to add a little surprise and fun. The venue is luxurious everywhere, and every detail can reflect the organizer's care. Even the floor is spotlessly clean, shiny enough to reflect the style of the girls under their dresses. There are dining tables on both sides. At a glance, the tables are full of exquisite meals, including cakes and snacks, as well as Wellington steaks and Australian lobsters. Those big guys with red bodies are lying on the ice, with their backs open, revealing a body of crystal white meat, which makes people look very appetizing. But at this moment, no one lingered at the table. Students gathered together with high-heeled glasses filled with champagne, or greeted familiar faculty and staff. At this moment, this group of elite reserve soldiers regarded the school's graduation party as a place of fame and fortune. They had the style of their fathers and could show their social skills in any occasion, making a few new friends or handing out a few gold-stamped business cards. In the back, at the front of the hall, an orchestra was playing live. Each musician was dressed in formal attire, and the soft and beautiful string music flowed from their fingertips. Although these musicians had experience playing in major theaters and their resumes, they would not underestimate this graduation party of the aristocratic college. The conductor's every gesture was meticulous, and every note of the musicians was emotional. In the center of the venue was a huge dance floor. The dance had not officially started yet, but there were already students dancing on the dance floor with their partners in their arms. They warmed up to the beat, and when the dance music stopped, they would turn around and take the drinks on the waiter's tray and leave with their partners. At this moment, Harry and his partner Gloria were spinning on the dance floor. The two danced freely, as if they had been working together for a long time, although this was their first time dancing. At the end of the dance, Gloria ended with a 720-degree spin. Harry bowed slightly and put his right hand on his chest to return the greeting. There was sparse applause from the outside, as if they appreciated their dance very much. Harry was smiling, and he bowed slightly to thank everyone around him. Suddenly, he was attracted by a quiet and powerful applause. Harry turned around, and his eyes were not focused on the people who were applauding, but on Gwen, who was dressed up to attend the dance tonight. Harry was stunned for half a second before he saw Luo Xia, who was holding Gwen's arm. Although Luo Xia was clapping, there was a hint of cold smile on the corner of his mouth. It was hard to tell whether he was expressing appreciation or ridicule. This was the first time Harry and Luo Xia met, but Harry had heard of Luo Xia's name before. Of course it was not a good reputation. He didn't expect Gwen to reject his invitation to the dance, but became Luo Xia's dance partner, which made him a little annoyed. Could it be that he was not as good as the violent maniac? But he would not be stupid enough to take the initiative to conflict with Luo Xia in such an occasion. Although he looked down on people who only used violence, he could not ignore the violence Luo Xia possessed. "Harry, what are you looking at?" Glory asked. "It's Gwen. Let's go up and say hello." At this time, no one knew what the two said, but they leaned against each other intimately. Luo Xia was tilting her head to listen to Gwen's whisper. "If you want, then go and say hello yourself," Harry said lightly, and he turned and walked aside. Glory was a little confused, but she could only follow Harry's steps in confusion. "I have participated in many dances, spring dances, fall dances, and opening dances, but this graduation dance is a little different. It seems to be more formal, like the social dance organized by my father at work," Gwen said in a low voice. "Aren't these things the same? It doesn't matter what the theme is, as long as we dance happily, isn't it?" Luo Xia shrugged and said, "Although many people's intention is not to dance itself, you are right. It's good to dance happily." Gwen nodded in approval. "I hope you can show the proper level, just like you practiced at my house." "It should be no problem. So can we go to the dining table now?" Luo Xia leaned close to Gwen's ear and said, "I think it's boring to hold a glass of wine and chat with boring people. Why not take advantage of the time to kill a few lobsters?" As time passed, the venue gradually became crowded. Under the announcement of the band's dance music, The graduation dance officially kicked off. Men and women hugged each other and spun in the music. Luo Xia also hugged Gwen, looking at each other's affectionate eyes and dancing a tango. The atmosphere on the dance floor was prominent. The boys' black formal suits and the girls' white dresses were intertwined, and various perfumes were floating in the air. The boys' shiny black leather shoes and the ladies' silver white high heels tapped gently on the floor. The reflective floor reflected the luxurious decoration and classical crystal chandeliers. The scattered skirts blocked the light from time to time when they spun. At this moment, everyone's eyes were very deep, like a deep sea that even the sun could not shine through, except for Luo Xia. He was still so careless. "Remember not to step on my shoes," Gwen kindly reminded. "Please, I'm not a rookie," Luo Xia said dissatisfiedly. "A rookie stepped on my shoes in my house, thanks to the book Friends Bookworms Book Famine. Alas, unlucky, space without dimension, waste of netherworld, and Boipa won for their rewards." Some book friends also said that Peter should not like Gwen now, but in Supernormal, Peter had a crush on Gwen from the beginning, and his computer desktop was all photos of Gwen in the debate team. Chapter 36. The end of the song. The students moved and spun to the beat of the music. Their steps were in unison, as if they were taught by the same teacher. The style of the music changed, and the gorgeous waltz smoothly turned into Prunicabaza, a work by Carlos Gardel, the king of Argentine tango. Suddenly, the dancers' demeanor and dancing posture became high-spirited. They looked at their partners with sharp or focused eyes. Dancing to this noble music, even people became proud. The tango ended, and in the low piano solo of the finale, the other girls stopped moving, but Gwen did not. Luo Xia tacitly stretched out his hand and raised it high. Gwen asked Luo Xia for strength from Luo Xia's hand and used him as a support for the rotation. If either of them made a mistake, Gwen would be like a spinning top that lost its balance. The 3,600-degree rotation at the end of the song was often wrong when they practiced at Gwen's home, but in the end Luo Xia always managed to hold Gwen in his arms when she fell. But Gwen never lacks courage. Even though she has fallen many times before, she will still do this move that is enough to amaze the whole audience at a formal dance. Gwen's golden hair fluttered as she spun, and Luo Xia's black figure seemed to be unshakable. The two seemed to have practiced together for many years. The silver dance skirt flew up, reflecting the dazzling light and shadow. The silver light spun on her shoes, and the sound of her heels hitting the ground continuously formed a series of allegro. At this moment, everyone's attention was attracted by Gwen, who was doing the last dance in the middle of the dance floor. Whether it was the dancers who had stopped beside her, or the waiters and musicians on the edge, the last note of the piano solo fell, and Luo Xia, who was in the spotlight, calmly grabbed Gwen's warm palm. At this time, Gwen had completed her move, and the timing was perfect. She slowly squatted down facing Luo Xia, and her dance skirt spread out neatly and slowly, like a blooming flower. Suddenly, I don't know who started to applaud first, and the applause came again. Everyone applauded, as if to drown out the figures of the two. On a curved staircase leading to the second floor, a student who was sitting on the staircase without caring about his image watched the scene coldly and hugged the camera in his arms. Before the formal dance began, irrelevant people had already retreated to various corners, and he was one of them. The huge crystal chandelier emitted a soft light, and under the light, his cold face suddenly became ferocious again, and the blood vessels on his neck gradually became clear, as if something was about to drill out from under the skin. In the most brilliant light, Luo Xia still had a calm face, even though the most beautiful and moving figure in the audience just now rotated, stopped, and saluted in front of him in full view of everyone. It seemed that in this arrogant dance music, he was the most arrogant person. Luo Xia stretched out his hand lightly and helped Gwen up. Amid the applause, he pulled Gwen out of the dance floor and passed by the dancers in gorgeous costumes. Pop! The lights in the venue dimmed instantly. The style of the band's music suddenly changed. The piano was cheerful and enthusiastic. It instantly changed from elegant dance music to rock music. The upper-class dance party turned into a nightclub in a second. Students nodded to the rhythm, and more people joined the dance floor to start the carnival. But the lively atmosphere ended just as it began. Suddenly, People near the window saw several tennis-sized objects streaking across the night sky. The next moment, a roaring explosion sounded from outside the window. The shockwave carried glass fragments, and countless people were pierced by glass fragments and screamed. The rock dance music stopped abruptly. After the explosion subsided, there was the sound of countless glass fragments falling to the ground, and screams rose and fell in the dance floor. Several more bombs were thrown into the venue from the window. The panicked students who had no time to dodge were instantly torn apart by the bombs, and blood splattered. Panic and fear spread among the crowd. The students finally reacted. They rolled and crawled to flee everywhere. What happened? Luo Xia, Gwen said in a lost voice. I don't know either. Luo Xia's face flashed with astonishment for a second, but he quickly regained his composure and pulled Gwen to continue walking against the wall. It looks like something went wrong during the dance. Someone wants to launch a terrorist attack in the aristocratic college? That should be the case. After all, school shootings in New York are very frequent. But no matter what, we should leave here as soon as possible, Luo Xia said, and then he kicked away a student who was about to hit him in a panic. Gwen was pulled away, and she frowned and looked back out the window. Suddenly, she heard a burst of wild laughter from a chaotic scream and cry. The laughter revealed arrogance, which made her particularly familiar. In the light of the street lamp, she saw a Batwing aircraft, and a green figure on the aircraft slowly descended from the top of the French window. It was the Green Devil. Gwen's eyes widened. She didn't have time to think about why the Green Devil would launch a terrorist attack on the Midtown Institute of Technology, but she looked at the classmates who fell in the pool of blood in the venue, and the panicked figures rushing to the emergency exit, and she knew she had to do something. Suddenly Gwen broke free from Luo Xia's hand, and Luo Xia turned back and looked at her calmly, without any surprise. Luo Xia, follow them to a safe place first. I will go out from another exit. Gwen hugged him quickly. Okay, this is indeed strange, but I don't have time to explain it. Now you listen to me first, and ask me if you have any questions later. Gwen pushed Luo Xia away. See you later. Luo Xia didn't say a word during the whole process. Gwen turned and moved against the flow of people. When she passed the corner, she turned around to look. Luo Xia was still standing there, looking at her calmly. Gwen paused, and she turned around and left without hesitation. This seemed to be just a simple terrorist attack. The Green Devil was wreaking havoc wantonly. He wanted to destroy everything. This was his biggest goal. This time, the Green Devil learned his lesson and brought enough ammunition, which made him have no worries when he threw bombs at the crowd wantonly. One by one, the Green Devil bombs rolled to the ground, and the floor was lifted up when they exploded, and the luxurious venue became a ruin. The floor was mixed with wine and blood, and the crowd stepped on it and left footprints one by one, and the crying was full of mess. The unlucky students who fell behind were blown away, and the panicked crowd ran around. There was a stampede at the exit, which delayed the evacuation. What a delightful dance! The Green Devil laughed wildly and threw several bombs at the crowd. 2 spider silks shot out from the side and accurately caught the bombs. The bombs drew an arc in the air and flew towards the Green Devil again. The Green Devil controlled the aircraft to dodge easily. Spider-Woman arrived at the scene within a minute without surprising him. He even showed a meaningful look. Most of the comments in the book circle are negative, which makes me doubt myself, but each reader has different preferences, and I can't satisfy everyone. When I see bad or even abusive comments, I will think about these. Maybe there is indeed something wrong with my settings. I can only learn from experience and slowly correct them. Fortunately, there are also warm encouragements from book friends. Please give me, a new author, a little more tolerance. I also need your support for my first book. Thank you. Chapter 37 Identity Disclosure Crisis. Gwen looked at the ruined venue and the bodies of her former classmates. She said angrily, "You are simply a lunatic. You will pay the price." "Thank you for the compliment." The Green Demon gracefully placed one hand on his chest and bowed slightly. "Your anger is reasonable. After all, I disturbed your dance. This is a farewell dance to your middle school years. So what should I call you? Spider-Woman, or Gwen Stacy?" Gwen's face was already full of astonishment under her spider mask. She once again confirmed that she did not change into the wrong spider suit because of panic. She also wore the spider mask, How did the other party recognize her? This surprise even made her stop attacking. Spider-Woman is an honor, but it also means greater trouble. Moreover, her identity was known by an evil enemy like the Green Demon. She simply didn't know how bad this matter had become. The last time she faced the crisis of identity disclosure, it was the demon who forcibly took off her mask. Gwen spent those days in panic, but fortunately, the demon didn't seem to have her, a street hero, in his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Gwen asked in panic. "Ha ha ha." The Green Devil laughed wantonly. "You should go to the mirror and look at yourself. You look like a helpless little white rabbit. You are a superhero, and you are an idol in the hearts of many citizens, Ms. Gwen." Gwen shot out spider silk and grabbed the ceiling. She pulled the spider silk and her whole body flew out rapidly, attacking the Green Devil. She didn't want to argue anymore, saying that it was meaningless. She wanted to shut up the Green Devil with her actions. "More than a month ago in the Osborn building, you were bitten by a mutant spider in the biological cable development room, and thus gained superhuman power," the Green Devil said while controlling the Batwing aircraft to avoid Gwen's attack. Gwen ignored him and just wrestled with the Green Devil. After the Green Devil broke free, she swung the spider silk and chased him. "You are so lucky. Each of those radioactive spiders is highly toxic. Even if they are made into spider serum and then injected into the human body, no experimental body can survive. But you are safe and sound." "Shut up." Gwen punched the Green Demon's head. The Green Demon dodged and fired a bomb. Gwen nimbly grabbed the bomb and fixed it on the Green Demon with spider silk. Then he turned around and kicked him to retreat with the help of the reaction force. Boom! The bomb exploded, and a whistling sound came. The Green Demon flew out of the dust on the flying machine. After the last defeat, he also improved his Green Demon armor. He not only increased the ammunition reserves, but also greatly improved the defense capability of the Green Demon armor. That's far from being lucky. Not only did you survive, you also became the embodiment of justice in the eyes of the citizens. The Green Devil smiled. "How does it feel to be a hero? How does it feel to swing between tall buildings with spider silk?" Gwen didn't answer. She grabbed the heavy dining table by the wall with spider silk and smashed it hard at the Green Devil. The reason why the Green Devil, that is, Norman Osborn, wanted to find Spider-Woman was simple. If he obtained the genetic sample of Spider-Woman, there was a high probability that the toxin problem in the spider serum could be solved. In this way, the spider serum can solve the genetic disease of the Osborn family. Although his disease has been solved, but he still has a son, Harry Osborn. As a father, he has to consider all this. Norman combined the information left by his dead subordinate Reddy, and through his own investigation, he finally placed the suspect on Gwen. In fact, he should have launched the attack on Gwen on the way to and from school. That plan was safer, but it was more fun for him to come with fear at the graduation dance of the Noble High School. It should be reasonable for the parents of the students to come to the graduation dance together, right? The Green Devil kept throwing bombs, laughing crazily. "You can't beat me, a poor little spider, huh?" Gwen kicked the Green Devil's head with the spider silk, and the Green Devil retreated rapidly and finally hit the wall before stopping. The aircraft lost control and fell to the side. The Green Devil slowly climbed up, and a stream of bright red blood flowed down his scalp, which instantly angered him. "I will kill you, after tonight." Gwen Stacy. The two were fighting in the venue, and on the attic on the second floor. Peter looked at this scene with surprise. "Gwen, Spider-Woman," he kept repeating these two names, more and more forcefully, as if he wanted to bite something to pieces. Dang! A sharp spider leg stretched out from behind him and instantly pierced the iron railing on the side. In an instant, his shoddy suit was torn, and 8 spider legs stretched out from his back. His head turned into an ugly spider head and then rotated 180 degrees. The spider legs stepped on the vertical wall, and his body slowly moved upside down on the wall. Gwen was fighting with the Green Demon. She dodged the Green Demon's attack with a somersault, turned around, raised a chair and smashed it on the Green Demon's head. She was about to continue attacking, but suddenly the attack stopped abruptly. The spider sense alarm sounded, and Gwen jumped away from the spot without any hesitation. At the moment she jumped away, a figure fell from the ceiling and hit where she was standing. and 8 spider legs pierced into the floor fiercely. It was the Spider Beastman. Gwen met it in Queens that night. Could it be that it has a connection with the Green Demon? But Gwen soon overturned this idea. The Green Demon was also frightened by the sudden appearance of the Spider Beastman. He hurriedly threw 2 bombs and let the aircraft take him away. The Spider Beastman did not even turn his head. The spider legs behind him intercepted the bombs thrown by the Green Demon nimbly and hit the bombs like hitting a baseball. The Spider Beastman turned and attacked Gwen. His goal was clear and he would not be disturbed by others. Gwen was instantly overwhelmed. One Green Demon was already difficult to deal with, and a Spider Beastman appeared out of nowhere. She definitely couldn't resist. She knew that night that she couldn't deal with the Spider Beastman alone. Not to mention that there was a Green Demon waiting beside her tonight. While dodging the Spider Beastman's attack, Gwen looked into the venue. Fortunately, all the surviving classmates had already evacuated. She should have retreated as well, otherwise she would really die here tonight. Gwen shot out Spider Silk to grab the windowsill, but just as she was about to fly out of the window, the Green Demon rushed out from the side. Gwen instantly catapulted up and crawled on the ceiling. "Is this your enemy too? Do you need me to notify your police father to support you?" the Green Demon said sarcastically. Chapter 38 Pink Battlesuit. Gwen dodged the Green Demon's attack with a backward leap, her body sliding on the smooth floor. At this time, the Spider Beast rushed up, and the sharp spider legs behind him kept stabbing Gwen. Fortunately, Gwen was very fast and escaped with the help of spider sense. "Gwen, let me eat you," the Spider Beast made a creepy voice, and Luo Xia. "No one can escape." Gwen bounced up and climbed on the wall. "Who are you?" This spider monster in front of him actually knew Luo Xia. This made Gwen even more nervous. The Spider Beast did not answer. He also climbed up the wall and quickly approached Gwen. Under the joint efforts of the Spider Beast and the Green Demon, Gwen, who was at a disadvantage, could only hold on with difficulty. Gwen was soon injured by the two people's pursuit and interception. If this was on the street, Gwen could easily deal with it. An empty venue was too unfavorable for Gwen to fight. Suddenly, Gwen, who was fighting, heard a whistling sound coming from outside the window. It was the sound of an object flying at high speed tearing the air. Gwen frowned and looked out the window. Her heart was clenched. Could there be a third evil villain at the Midtown Institute of Technology tonight? Things couldn't be that bad, right? Bang! A pink oval-shaped flight capsule smashed through the French window on the other side and entered the venue, flying straight towards Gwen. "What is that?" Gwen immediately swung on the spider silk to avoid it. The pink flight capsule was equipped with arc pulse thrusters at the tail. When Gwen moved, it could actually change direction and fly towards Gwen accurately. Gwen looked at the chasing flight capsule with a confused face. It didn't look like a missile or some kind of lethal weapon. Who else would paint a bomb pink? This scene also stunned the Green Devil. He stepped on the Batwing aircraft and looked at Gwen running around the room. The spider orc was still chasing Gwen. He seemed to be a beast that would not give up until he stared at his prey. He would either bite the prey's throat or chase it until he was exhausted. Boom! Another wave of sound came. The Green Devil turned his head and looked out the window. A red and yellow figure slowly appeared outside the window. The Green Devil's pupils shrank slightly, and he recognized the person. After being blocked by the Devil and Spider-Woman, the Green Devil has been investigating the existence of superhumans in New York. This man in red and yellow steel armor is also quite famous. Although he did not do justice on the streets, he once destroyed several terrorist camps. People on the internet gave him a special name, Iron Man. "Hello, Mr. Green Devil." Iron Man stretched out his hand, and after a short period of energy storage, he fired a palm cannon. The Green Devil, who was blown away, slammed hard against the wall before stopping. The Batwing aircraft lost control again and smashed several pieces of the floor. Iron Man slowly flew into the venue. He looked at the farce caused by misunderstanding and held his forehead. "Excuse me, Miss Spider-Woman. The thing chasing you is not a weapon, but the flying transport cabin of the Iron Spider Suit 1. You stop and wait for it to confirm your identity, then you can automatically put on the suit," Iron Man explained. "This is a gift from Mr. Devil. Please sign for it." Gwen also noticed Iron Man standing in the center of the venue. Iron Man is recognized as a superhero on the internet and belongs to the side of justice. Iron Man is also very popular. There are professional bloggers who analyze that Iron Man's power comes entirely from the iron suit he wears, which means that ordinary people also have the opportunity to become superheroes, as long as they wear the suit tailored by Iron Man. Although Gwen and Iron Man have no intersection, she also chose to believe Iron Man, probably because they both belong to the Justice camp. Gwen repelled the Spider Beast again. She stopped where she was and observed the flying cabin approaching rapidly. Sure enough, the flying cabin hovered in front of her. "What is the Iron Spider Suit Generation 1? Gwen asked in confusion. "Why did the devil give me this thing?" "Sorry, Miss Spider. My job doesn't include answering your questions. I am only responsible for manufacturing and shipping the suits. If you have any after-sales questions, please ask the devil." Iron Man shrugged. The flight cabin emitted an infrared ray to scan Gwen's body. Ding. Spider-Woman. Identity confirmed. The pink flight cabin opened. The outer shell faded. The suit deployment program was activated, and a set of pink iron armor quickly attached to Gwen's body and unfolded. "Then why is it pink? The drawings the devil gave me didn't have a design for the appearance," Iron Man said in surprise, "so I painted the suit pink for you." "Is there any girl in the world who doesn't like pink?" Before Iron Man finished speaking, an explosion knocked him over. It was the Green Goblin. Someone was chatting comfortably after knocking him down. This was simply an insult to the Green Goblin. He controlled the aircraft and kept firing Green Goblin bombs, trying to get rid of the man hiding under the iron sheet. On the other side, the iron spider suit wrapped Gwen tightly. The helmet was closed, and the iron suit was put on in just a few seconds. Not every girl likes pink. Gwen was a little dazed looking at the 3D screen in front of her, and the voice of the built-in intelligent combat voice assistant rang out in the helmet. Exclamation mark. The spider sensing sent a warning, and Gwen easily dodged the Spider-Works attack. She subconsciously raised her hand to shoot out Spider Silk, and what she shot out was a capture web. By default, the multifunctional Spider Silk launcher will launch a capture web when aiming at a living organism in battle. The default setting can be modified. The female voice of the voice assistant sounded in the helmet. "Is it really so high-tech?" Gwen muttered to herself in a dumbfounded manner, but unfortunately, the Spider Silk capture web did not work on the Spider-Orc. After he reacted, he used the sharp spider legs behind him to easily cut the spider web. The Spider-Orc wrestled with Gwen again. Gwen was still careful to avoid his attacks. Suddenly, Gwen unexpectedly discovered that the iron battle suit on her body could actually withstand those sharp spider legs. Gwen instantly changed her fighting style. During the fight, Gwen shot out Spider Silk to cover the Spider-Orc's head, reached out and grabbed the spider leg on his back, and Gwen broke it with all her strength. The Spider Beastman roared crazily. Although he was very angry, it was obvious that this injury was nothing to him, not to mention that the broken spider leg was still healing rapidly. After wearing the steel suit, the Spider Beastman could no longer cause any harm to Gwen. Although the suit had strong defensive capabilities, it only increased the attack of Spider-Gwen very little. Facing the Spider Beastman's powerful healing ability, Gwen also felt very difficult. The battle in the venue had reached a white-hot stage, and no one knew what the final outcome would be. Chapter 39, Under the Mask. "Your armor is too bad," Iron Man said, and blasted the Green Goblin away with a palm cannon again. If they were not fighting indoors, he would have used a high lethality weapon to end the battle. The Green Goblin's armor defense is also very strong. He flew out of the dust and rushed towards Iron Man again. Harry stood on the spiral staircase against the wall. The light in the venue was very bad, and he could barely see the scene of 4 people with superhuman powers fighting. "Iron Man is here too?" Harry muttered to himself. It's hard to believe that Gwen is Spider-Woman. The Green Goblin and Iron Man had strong firepower. It was unknown when they would throw a bomb here. Harry, who had been watching for a long time, was ready to escape from here. Harry just turned around and took a step, and suddenly he was stunned. At the end of the spiral staircase, a white figure was standing in the center of the attic. The light of the emergency lighting above the stairs fell, and Harry saw the face clearly. A terrifying demon mask. Harry took a step back subconsciously, his body swayed. He missed his step. If he hadn't been against the wall, he would have fallen down the stairs. It was a demon. Midtown Institute of Technology actually gathered a fifth person with superhuman powers. Harry was in a dilemma. There was a demon blocking the way in front of him, and behind him was the battlefield between the Green Goblin and Iron Man. Harry could only continue to watch. The demon in a white suit stood behind the fence in the attic. His body was straight, and his black hair seemed to be shining. The demon mask fit his face perfectly. The lace scarf in his collar was inlaid with rhinestones. His face was cold and it was hard to tell whether it was anger or indifference. Suddenly the demon moved. He turned and walked to the side of the speaker that had been destroyed beyond recognition. Harry remembered the speaker. The speaker was originally downstairs. Spider-Woman used it to hit the Green Goblin in the air. After the Green Goblin dodged, the speaker flew to the attic. Luo Xia reached out and knocked on the speakers. A faint light came on. Under the power of the horse charm to repair, the damaged speakers slowly became intact. Harry stared at this scene that violated the principles of science in amazement. Fortunately, the existence of demons was already against science, and everything that happened in front of him was not so unbelievable. The demon was fiddling with the speakers. The speakers first played a powerful DJ dance music. The demon frowned and changed it. The next song was a soothing pop music. The demon continued to change songs until it cut to the song Prunikabuza. Harry also secretly admired the demon's taste. Maybe the demon had also seen Scent of a Woman or Schindler's List. After the demon finished the song, he went downstairs. Harry exclaimed that he was unlucky. The demon took the spiral staircase on his side. Luo Xia walked and watched the battlefield downstairs. He had no expression on his face. Suddenly, he moved half a step to the inside of the stairs and faced Harry. Luo Xia kicked him, but his face was still expressionless, like a calm well. Harry cried out in pain. He lost his balance and rolled down the stairs. His head hit the guardrail and his head was bleeding. At this time, the green demon was blown away by the bomb. He rolled over and fell beside Harry. Harry's eyes were full of stars. He just opened his eyes and saw the terrifying mask of the green demon in front of him. Harry held his head and rolled to the side until he stopped under the wall. At this moment, he remembered the scene of the green demon throwing bombs at the crowd. Would he also die at the hands of the madman green demon? Fortunately, the green demon did not attack him. Even though Harry clearly saw the amazing anger in the green demon's eyes. The green demon climbed up, jumped on the Batwing aircraft, and rushed towards the demon on the stairs. Luo Xia pinched his wrist, and his right hand was spread out, and a dragon-shaped totem was lit. 3 red flames flew out one after another, leaving arc-shaped trajectories in the air, and hit the green demon's chest one after another. Boom. In the past few days, Luo Xia upgraded the dragon spell to LV7. The upgraded dragon spell not only became more powerful, but also diversified its attack methods. Luo Xia gradually became proficient in using it after a few days of research. The green demon almost lost his ability to move after enduring the bombardment of the dragon spell. The armor on his chest was shattered, revealing his bloody chest. Harry saw the demon approaching and struggled to climb up and lean against the wall. But this time the demon ignored him. "Good evening, Mr. Demon," Tony said admiringly. "Your clothes tonight are very tasteful. And this song? I remember that there seems to be a dance here. Are you here to attend the dance too? Remember to bring a female companion to the dance. Of course you can also choose to dance alone." I deliberately picked an elegant song, but unfortunately, it still can't change your chatterbox attribute, Luo Xia said lightly. There was a shrill siren outside the window. Tony stretched and said, "It's time to end this." He raised his arm and aimed at the spider beast who was still fighting on the side. A micro-missile rose from his arm. "Jarvis, turn on the dynamic tracking and targeting system," Tony shouted loudly. "Hey, get out of the way, Miss Spider." Gwen's spider sense also sounded the alarm. She quickly shot out spider silk to pull her body away. A micro-missile passed by her and shot straight at the spider beast. Boom. The whole building was shaking. The crystal chandelier above the spider beast's head broke and fell down after a violent tremor. Swish. At the critical moment, Gwen shot out spider silk to pull him out of the ruins. At this time, The seriously injured spider beast was already unconscious, the 8 weird spider legs drilled back into his back, and his body was covered in blood. "Let me see who you are." Gwen was still very entangled in the identity of the spider beast. "Oh, I almost forgot to take off your mask." Iron Man walked towards the green demon lying in a pool of blood. "You are wearing a fake battle suit, and even your name is fake." "Peter Parker," Gwen said in surprise as she approached the bloody spider beast. Gwen remembered that afternoon. She and Luo Xia ran into Peter, who was taking revenge on Fleischer in the corridor. At that moment, she felt the breath of the beast on Peter, but it was still hard for her to imagine all this. In her impression, although Peter was weak, he had a sense of justice. For example, he would help Gordon, who was also bullied. But now Peter turned into a spider beast and attacked her. It was hard for her to believe all this. Norman Osborn, Tony, who took off the green demon's mask on the other side, was also dumbfounded. As a wealthy man of the same level in New York, Tony and Norman were also familiar with each other. They often met at various banquets and events. Although the two did not have much friendship, they were familiar with each other. It was hard for Tony to connect the old man, who was a little frail and old, with the Green Devil, who was throwing bombs crazily and causing destruction on the streets of New York. Chapter 40: The Devil's Move. If one day, you suddenly found that the notorious terrorist took off his mask and it was his father's face, how would you feel? Harry had never imagined this dramatic scene, but it really happened in front of him. "Dad?" Harry's face was full of astonishment. After the Green Goblin's mask was taken off, the most surprised person in the audience was Harry, who was sitting under the stairs in the corner. He looked at the extremely embarrassed figure and couldn't believe his eyes. How could his father, Norman Osborn, be the Green Goblin, the criminal who caused destruction and terrorist incidents and made the people hate and despise him, turned out to be his father? Harry suffered a serious shock and mental blow in an instant. Harry's birth weakened his mother Emily's physique, and she died after a long illness. Heartbroken, Norman became a cold father, either disparaging Harry or angrily attacking him. Therefore, Harry spent most of his first half of his life desperately trying to gain his father's recognition, and was also sad because of his father's contempt. In fact, in Harry's heart, he admired his father very much, but now everything was shattered like a bubble. "This world is too crazy. The super-rich personally slaughtered the citizens and created destruction," Tony said to himself. "But in some ways I can understand him. He is probably tired of the rich material life and is eager to pursue spiritual pleasure, but it is obvious that he has gone astray. His happiness is built on the suffering of others." Tony suddenly turned his head and looked at the devil. "Under your devil mask, you are not also a super-rich man or the heir to a consortium, right? Who knows? People should resolve their doubts themselves. You can try to take off my mask." Luo Xia smiled faintly. "Now that you are wearing the upgraded version of the iron armor, you should be full of confidence." Tony did have this idea: to defeat the devil, take off his mask, expose his true identity to the public, and see if he dares to act recklessly in New York. Of course, Tony knew that the devil was powerful, and his confidence in defeating the devil came from the upgraded Armor Mark V. The Armor Mark V not only combines the advantages and manufacturing experience of Mark IV, but also absorbs the strengths of the Iron Spider suit 1-inch, such as the defense system and energy output system have been greatly upgraded and improved. After wearing the Iron Armor Mark V and activating the Combat Assistance Program tailored for the devil by Jarvis, Tony has the confidence to defeat the devil. But now that he has been exposed by Luo Xia, Tony's heart is beating again. The devil is so confident, there must be many cards that have not been exposed, right? And the improvement of his own Armor Mark V is also thanks to the devil's blueprint. Suddenly Tony thought of the Mark IV that was blasted into scrap metal by Rorschach's palm cannon in the Stark Industries building. That was a lesson learned, and he was not sure whether the Mark V would follow suit if he did it himself. Ha ha ha. No one responded. Tony could only smile awkwardly. "It's a good joke, but I'm not interested in the face under your mask. Even if he's a handsome guy, there's no doubt about my orientation." Rorschach glanced at him twice without saying anything, and Tony could only continue to smile awkwardly. "Okay, should we call it a day tonight?" Tony decided to run away. What should we do now with the high school spider monster and the elderly super rich green devil? The police are outside. I suggest letting Ms. Spider hand them over to the police. Miss Spider is quite familiar with the police anyway. There was some silence in the venue, and no one answered. Although Tony spoke very excitedly, no one noticed him. Gwen had a heavy expression, and Luo Xia had a quiet face. He was listening to the dance music floating in the air. The prunakabaza coming from the speakers has reached its climax, and the sound of the piano is entangled with the passionate climbing of the strings. Suddenly, surrounded by the dance music, the devil raised his hands and began to dance. He slowly closed his eyes. His expression was solemn and his dance steps were meticulous, as if he really had a peerless dance partner. The devil's wide hemspun, and the sound of his heels stepping on the floor formed a beat. His dance was elegant, but the strange thing was that Tony felt a little scalp tingling for some reason when he watched this scene, and he involuntarily took a few steps back. Even though the devil's dance was beautiful, he couldn't appreciate any artistic atmosphere. He only felt weird and fear. Why are you so anxious? The climax has just begun. Luo Xia opened his eyes and said, I have never taken them seriously, whether it is the spider monster, the green devil, or the police outside. So how can they affect our mood? Sorry, Mr. Devil. I seem to have to go back quickly tonight. My assistant Miss Potts is still waiting to report to me. Tony said nonsense. You know, as a super rich man, he is also very busy. Miss Potts has a very bad temper, which is incomprehensible. Like a little pepper. If I am late, I will probably be scolded by her. Then we can bring Miss Potts to the dance next time. The devil just said lightly, and he didn't even look at Tony, but he scared Tony. Well, think about it carefully. I don't have anything important tonight. What assistant needs to report work? Let her wait until tomorrow morning. I can accompany you to have fun until dawn. Tony made a gesture of adjusting his tie. So what are we doing now? Fight with the police or something? Do you want me to call a few Hollywood actresses for you? I may need you to shut up. Luo Xia ignored him and walked towards Peter. He glanced at Gwen, who had been on the edge. Gwen hadn't spoken since the devil appeared. It wasn't that she hated the devil or didn't want to communicate with him, but she had too many questions to ask the devil. But she didn't know where to start. Why did the devil suddenly appear here? Why did the devil give her an iron spider suit? And it was so fitting. How did he know her measurements? But now Gwen stood between the devil and Peter. Seeing the devil coming over, Gwen seemed to understand what he wanted to do. The devil must want to kill Peter. The devil acted recklessly and never had any scruples. He wandered on the edge of justice and evil. It seemed that there was no definition or restraint of justice or evil in his heart. He did everything according to his own preferences. Just like in the Platinum Height Hotel that night, the devil tortured and killed several vicious criminals. This seemed to be just, although a little extreme. But he also killed 3 staff members who had no criminal record in the Osborne building. It was completely murder, but the devil never cared and even left his own mark. Chapter 41, Death of the Green Devil. Seeing Gwen blocking the road, Luo Xia stopped. He didn't have the habit of taking a detour. Good evening, Mr. Devil. Haven't seen you for a long time? It seems that you haven't encountered any kidnapping cases or uneducated drivers recently. Gwen said this because the demon had disappeared from the internet for a few days recently, and no citizens tweeted that they had encountered the demon on the street again, which caused heated discussions. But the real situation is that Gwen dragged Luo Xia to practice dancing these days, and Luo Xia came home very late, so she went out less frequently. Gwen made small talk, as if he was stalling time. But it seemed to be wasting time. No one could stop the demon, whether it was Iron Man or the police outside. Actually, what I want to say is, thank you for your battle suit. But why did you give me the battle suit? Mr. Devil, this iron suit is too precious. I can't accept it, Gwen said as she took off the iron suit. Although she felt insecure when facing the demon without the protection of the suit, she felt much more comfortable looking at the tight white and black suit she was wearing. Gwen was a little confused when Iron Man said that the suit was a gift from the devil. She and the devil have never been friends, and they even have a hostile relationship. Would enemies give weapons and ammunition to each other? Could it be that the devil wanted to use this as a temptation to persuade her to join his camp? But the devil has always been alone. Or was it a free gift? Would the devil be so kind? Although if the devil wanted to persecute her, he would not have to choose such a troublesome method as tampering with the suit. Gwen knew that she was no match for the devil, not to mention that the devil also knew her true identity under the Spider-Woman mask. "I thought you came up to me to dance with me," Luo Xia said lightly. "If you don't like this suit, you can throw it in the trash can next to the 11th tree on the left side of the door. This is not moral kidnapping, it's just because this suit is tailor-made for you. Others wear it as a tortoiseshell that restricts their movements. Provided that he can wear it. With my ability, I don't need external amplification." Sorry, I have a dance partner tonight, but it's not you." Gwen didn't know what to say for a while. "Do you know this school well? Did you also graduate from the Central City Institute of Technology?" "I saw it when I just came in." Luo Xia raised his right hand, and the dragon totem was ready to move. "Then please get out of the way now. I want to purify this ugly spider." Gwen had a headache, and it was just as she imagined. "No, Mr. Devil, you can't do this." Gwen still stood firmly in the middle, her body trembling as she raised her hand to the devil. She knew how terrifying the devil's attack was. Although she had taken off the steel spider suit with strong defense, she still did not retreat. There are many reasons. Peter Parker is always Gwen's classmate. She can't bear to see the devil kill her classmate. Even though Peter is a monster now, he has attacked Gwen twice and even wanted to kill her. But Gwen will always remember the Peter with a sense of justice. Although Peter doesn't have the terrifying force of Luo Xia and can easily defeat the school bully, he will also bravely help others. Gwen doesn't know what happened to Peter that made him degenerate and hostile to her, but Gwen thinks that Peter should be given a chance to correct himself. At least Peter didn't commit unforgivable crimes after he became a monster. He didn't attack innocent citizens, and he didn't cause destruction and large-scale killings. The crimes he committed would not be sentenced to death. For these reasons, Gwen couldn't just watch the devil kill Peter. Just like she would help innocent passers-by, if that really happened, it would make her feel guilty for a long time. "Ms. Spider, you seem to be a little fearless." The devil stood in place. "You seem very confident that I won't kill you." "No, I don't mean to provoke your anger." Gwen's face was a little pale. Peter is not a vicious criminal, and he has not committed a big crime. Perhaps it is a better choice to hand him over to the police. Should we calm down now?" Tony cleared his throat and said, "Mr. Devil and Miss Spider, everyone calm down. This song is so elegant, deep and aloof, as beautiful as Tchaikovsky's The Dying Swan. I can't help but want to dance. Don't you want to?" Tony monologued awkwardly. He couldn't see the situation clearly. Shouldn't the devil be in the same camp as Spider-Woman? He threatened to make a spider suit for Spider-Woman. Why are the two of them going to fight again now? Luo Xia glanced at him lightly, and Tony immediately made a zipper and shut up gesture. "Your kindness will only create a bigger villain. When he becomes a frenzied criminal, you can only regret that you don't have the ability to kill him." Luo Xia said calmly, "Of course, all this has nothing to do with me. Even if he destroyed the entire New York, I am just stating a fact. Whether it is justice or evil, I am not in the mood to correct anything, as long as he doesn't let me see that ugly face." "No, he will turn back. There is justice in his heart," Gwen said firmly, "and we must uphold the dignity of the law, even though it sounds a little funny." Ha 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 ha. It was Tony who laughed. Luo Xia turned back to look at him and happened to see the very miserable green devil. "You don't want to?" Tony's laughter froze. "No, Mr. Devil, you can't kill him either. His real identity is Norman Osborn, the chairman of the Osborn Group, a super rich man, and a major taxpayer in New York. Of course, I'm not saying this to defend him. The rich should pay the price for violating the law. What I mean is that if he dies here, the whole world will be shocked. I think it's more reasonable to hand him over to the court for trial," Tony said seriously. "We must uphold the dignity of the law." "Now I think Ms. Spider is right." Luo Xia raised his hand to the green devil. The dragon totem was lit, and the power of the talisman was fully activated. Boom! A huge flame column with a diameter of more than 1 meter shot out. The dragon talisman was overloaded, and the violent energy was all poured out. The overflowing energy set off aftershocks in the air, and the nearby Iron Man was overturned, Harry covered his face and screamed in pain. The Green Devil, who was at the center of the dragon spell attack, had disappeared from the spot, and not even a corpse was left in the charred ruins. So far, the first generation of Green Devil was declared dead. Shut up. Luo Xia's face was grim, and he aimed at Iron Man. After a few staggers, Iron Man barely maintained his balance and instantly raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Survivors. The campus of Midtown Science and Technology was filled with the piercing sound of sirens. What's the situation inside? Have those criminals with superpowers escaped? Are there any survivors trapped inside? Chief George, who had just arrived at the scene, asked a series of questions. Sorry, Chief, all the surveillance equipment inside has been destroyed, and we don't know the specific situation now, a police officer said with sweat on his forehead. When the police cordoned off the scene, there was still a fight inside, and the fight was only settled a few minutes ago. Until now, we have only monitored Iron Man flying away from the left window. The Green Devil who launched the terrorist attack should still be inside. Iron Man, the superhero who fights terrorists, when did he participate in terrorist activities? George said to himself in confusion. What are you waiting for? The police are not cleaners to clean up the battlefield for them. We want to arrest these arrogant criminals. Chief George said dissatisfiedly. Attack. You can fire freely, search the entire building, and give priority to protecting the surviving students. Chief George took over an explosion-proof shield and rushed to the messy venue first. Every police officer saw worry and anxiety on his face. Before crossing the cordon, Chief George passed by the gathering place of the surviving students, but he did not see Gwen and Luo Xia there. Fully armed police officers filed in. The interior of the building had become a ruin. At the exit, more than a dozen bodies were lying on the ground in a mess. They were killed by the same bomb. Looking around, there were glass products and wooden debris all over the floor. The huge crystal chandelier was smashed to pieces on the ground. Wine and blood were mixed together, and the boots were sticky when stepped on. The police who entered here for the first time could still see the luxury of this place before the attack from the remains of the luxurious decorations or the occasional Australian lobsters on the ground. If the school wants to restore this place to perfection, it will also cost a lot of money. Everyone's expression became heavier, and the venue at this moment seemed like hell on earth. Director George would carefully identify each body he passed, but some people were in the center of the explosion before their death, and their bodies were torn into pieces of flesh, so they were naturally unrecognizable. Found the survivor, someone shouted, and Director George hurried over. The survivor was lying at the bottom of the spiral staircase, which was the center of the battlefield at a glance. Half of the stairs were shattered, and there were flames burning at the broken ends. It seemed to be caused by a powerful explosion, or someone launched a powerful attack. It was hard to imagine how the student survived in this situation. Director George came to the survivor. Although the student survived, he was also greatly injured. His face was covered with blood and had severe burns on his face. It was a male classmate. Director George carefully distinguished the clothes of the surviving student. After a moment, he concluded that this was not Luo Xia. He remembered the clothes Luo Xia wore when he came to pick up Gwen tonight. But suddenly he opened his eyes wide, and as he looked at the bloody face, a name flashed through his mind. Harry Osborn. Harry was one of his daughter Gwen's good friends. Although his face was severely burned, he could still be recognized based on his face shape and facial features. Harry, Harry. George called a few times, but the unconscious Harry did not respond. Send him outside for medical assistance, Chief George ordered, and he said firmly, continue the search. There must be survivors. Chief George. A police officer suddenly grabbed his shoulders and called him in surprise. Confused, Chief George slowly turned around and looked at the place where the police officer's flashlight was shining. There was a man hanging there. He was wearing a tattered suit, covered in blood, and tied tightly with spider silk. His head was drooping weakly and he looked like he was unconscious. Chief George frowned and saw the transparent spider silk clearly. Spider-Woman, she's here tonight too? Things are getting worse. The aristocratic college in New York has been attacked by terrorists. The Green Goblin and Iron Man are known to be present. Now it is discovered that even the habitual offender Spider-Woman is involved. But the police know nothing about the whole incident. Chief George led his men to slowly approach the man hanging from the ceiling by spider silk. During the whole process, they kept aiming their guns at him to prevent the target from pretending to be unconscious and then attacking the police. It's not that the police are too cautious, although Spider-Woman is a criminal who is still at large in their eyes. From their experience, the person she hangs up with spider silk can only be a criminal. Gwen carefully avoided the crowd. She took off her spider suit in a hidden corner and put on the silver-white dress. She took out her mobile phone and used the street light to fix her makeup and hair. After turning on her mobile phone, Gwen saw several missed calls, all from her father George. She quickly called back. "Gwen?" George's worried and nervous voice came from the other end of the phone. He was afraid that someone had accidentally discovered his daughter's phone. He didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he heard Gwen's voice from the other end of the phone. "Where are you? You haven't answered the phone. I'm worried about you," George said. "I'm sorry, Dad. I set my phone to silent mode because I'm going to the dance tonight. Now I'm next to the teaching building," Gwen said apologetically. "Then you should at least call me after you are safe," George said a little reproachfully. "Is Luo Xia with you?" "Luo Xia? He's not with you?" George was a little nervous. "When I came in, I passed by the playground, where all the surviving students gathered, but I didn't see you and Luo Xia." Gwen was suddenly stunned. After a moment, she immediately explained, "He is with me. He has been with me since he came out of there, but now he is driving. We are going to leave here." George's hanging heart finally settled down after hearing this. Tonight, his worries increased as time went by. Before hearing the news from Gwen, he was even about to lose his mind and affect his work. And George never dared to think about the worst outcome, even assuming it was a father. He found it hard to accept. "You should leave school first. This is the right thing to do. Let Luo Xia take you home. I still have a lot of things to deal with tonight." "The scene is a mess, but don't worry. There is no danger," George said. "Remember not to tell your mother about this." "Okay, Dad. Be careful at work." Gwen also breathed a sigh of relief and was about to hang up the phone. "Gwen," George suddenly called her, "I saw Harry just now. Your friend survived, but his condition is very bad and his life may be in danger." Chapter 43 Night Kiss. After Gwen put down the phone, she stood there blankly. A message kept circling in her mind. Did Luo Xia also disappear from everyone's sight tonight? Just like her, she disappeared mysteriously for a while. The reason why Gwen disappeared was simple. She was not an ordinary student, but Spider-Woman. Ordinary students would escape to a safe place when they encountered danger, but Spider-Woman would solve the danger. So what was the reason for Luo Xia's disappearance? A lot of speculation suddenly surged in Gwen's heart, but she couldn't judge the correct answer from them, because those were always assumptions and speculations, lacking strong evidence. The court needs evidence when trying suspects with numerous crimes. Gwen has no reason to doubt and maliciously speculate Luo Xia just because of some of her conspiracy theory speculations. But Gwen can be sure of one thing: Luo Xia will not be an ordinary high school student. Those things that she didn't want to think about before are now all in her mind. More than a month ago, Luo Xia mysteriously appeared in Osborn Building. No ordinary high school student can get past the security system of Osborn Building, and Luo Xia that day seemed to be looking for something in Osborn. It was out of curiosity that she followed Rasha and accidentally entered the laboratory and was bitten by a radioactive spider. After mutating, she gained power and became Spider-Woman. Tonight, Gwen learned about the existence of a superhuman born in Osborn. The Green Devil. Obviously, there are many secrets in the Osborn Building, and Rasha, as the person who went to explore these secrets, is also very mysterious. Rasha seems to have strong personal force, which cannot be explained by excellent physical fitness. In school, he once easily lifted the sturdy Flesher with one hand, but Rasha is not a muscular man. As far as Gwen knows, He doesn't even have the habit of fitness and exercise. And that night when Gwen explored Queens, she had an encounter with Peter's transformed spider beast and fled the scene. Gwen mistakenly entered Roshal's home. When Luo Xia entered the living room, the two had a brief fight. Before she recognized Luo Xia, Gwen tried her best, but she didn't even touch the corner of Luo Xia's clothes. His speed was too fast. That was not a human reaction and speed. Gwen had met many superheroes and criminals, but there was only one who could crush her and speed: the devil. At that time, Gwen didn't doubt it. She thought that she was injured by the spider beastman, and it was estimated that the anesthetic components in her body took effect and affected her speed. But now thinking about it, there are many doubts. After the mutation, Gwen's strength and speed have far exceeded the limit of human beings. Even if her speed is affected for various reasons, it is not comparable to that of a normal human. Gwen has a good memory. Thinking of these things, the experience in Queens that night flashed before Gwen's eyes like a movie scene, and that powerful energy fluctuation. That night, Gwen was so alert because she felt the energy fluctuation nearby, so that after Luo Xia pushed the door, Gwen launched an attack before she judged who was coming. Thinking of these, Gwen couldn't help but frown. The past is like a ball of thread with many threads. If you comb through it carefully, you can get a lot of gains. Of course, based on these doubts and clues alone, Gwen cannot confirm Luo Xia's identity, or confirm the connection between Luo Xia and the devil. You can't conclude that the devil and Luo Xia are the same person just because they both have black hair. It is very likely that one day in the future, she will be able to find evidence to prove her guess. But the conclusion will have to wait until then to be confirmed. But once the idea and setting of Luo Xia as a devil came into being, Gwen couldn't help but associate it. Gwen thought, if the person under the devil's mask was really Luo Xia, then all her doubts would have answers. Even her new doubts tonight were answered. Why would the devil make an iron spider suit for her? Why would the unscrupulous devil let Peter, who was protected by her, go? Because the devil had taken off her spider mask. He knew that Spider-Woman was Gwen Stacy. So the devil gave her the iron spider suit and put down his hands. Moreover, the devil and Luo Xia have similar personalities and styles. They both admire violence and have no fear of justice. But after thinking carefully, Gwen also found obvious differences. The devil is disordered, and there is a madness hidden in the chaos, and he has a killing heart. Luo Xia is not as talkative as the devil. His heart is cold, and he can even be described as aloof. He also has a warm side when facing Gwen. He is not as crazy as the devil, but more serious. Although Luo Xia does not believe in justice, she is not evil. Suddenly Gwen cut off her associations. Once suspicions and speculations arise, it is like planting seeds in the mind. Soon, they can take root and sprout in the constant association and grow into towering trees. Gwen didn't want to think about these things, because now it seems that these are all fruitless things. She took out her mobile phone and called Luo Xia. Suddenly, an idea popped up in Gwen's mind. Or no matter how many guesses there are, it is better to ask clearly in person. Spider-Woman and the devil are not enemies, and she and Luo Xia are even less so. After a few beep sounds, the phone was connected. "Where are you? I miss you, Luo Xia," Gwen said softly. "The parking lot." Luo Xia's gentle voice came from the phone. "I remember we just separated for less than half an hour. It's very close to danger. It's okay now." Luo Xia turned his head and saw the flashing police lights through the car window. The police blocked the scene. "I just saw your father." "Then why didn't you say hello to him?" Gwen complained. "Because you are not with me," Luo Xia replied with a smile. "If Mr. George asks, how did you lose Gwen? How should I answer?" "Well, that's right. Fortunately you didn't go to see him just now." Gwen bit her lip. "Now you don't have to move. I'll go find you. And don't hang up the phone, I want to hear your voice." The two met in the parking lot, in front of a dilapidated Ford car, in the snow-white headlights, hugged each other tightly. "I'm worried about you, I miss you so much." Gwen buried her head in Luo Xia's arms and said, her voice a little unclear, "It should be me who is worried about you, because you suddenly disappeared." Luo Xia said calmly. Gwen suddenly raised her head. She opened her eyes wide and looked carefully at Luo Xia's face. The pair of black eyes, The high-nose bridge. You don't seem to have any doubts. No questions. Luo Xia, don't you want to ask me anything about my sudden departure just now? No. Luo Xia also looked into her eyes and said seriously, I think if you want me to know something, you will tell me when the right day comes. Luo Xia's words instantly dispelled all of Gwen's doubts and guesses. Gwen stood on tiptoe and kissed Luo Xia. The two kissed in the night. Luo Xia hugged Gwen's waist, and Gwen also responded fiercely. Chapter 44 Transcript. Columbia and Cornell Presbyterian Hospital in New York. In a high-end ward, Harry, who had just woken up after the operation, lay on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. His head was wrapped in bandages, and a few traces of blood oozed out of the white bandages, leaving only his two eyes and nostrils exposed. There was nothing on the two cabinets at the head of the bed. The ECG and blood pressure monitor next to it was working normally, continuously monitoring the patient's physical condition. The ward was very quiet, with only the dripping sound from the top of the head. After an unknown amount of time, the door of the ward was suddenly pushed open from the outside, and a middle-aged man in a suit stood at the door. Harry, Director George said softly, and he walked into the ward. Harry, who heard the voice, slowly turned around and looked at him, but did not react in any other way. Chief George sighed, and he still made a formal self-introduction. I am the Commissioner of the New York City Police Department, George Stacy. Is it convenient for you now? The police need to know something about what happened last night from you and make a simple record. I know you are in a very bad state now, but I am sorry to bother you. After all, you are the only survivor in the venue. Behind Chief George appeared an old man with gray hair. He said to Chief George in a cold voice, Chief George, you only have 5 minutes. Our young master is still recovering from surgery and he needs to rest. This is the old housekeeper of Osborne's family. After the old housekeeper finished speaking, he closed the door, and several police officers who followed Chief George here were also blocked outside. Under normal circumstances, they would also follow Chief George in, take notes and other work, and observe the reactions of witnesses throughout the process. But Harry's identity was too special, and the old housekeeper insisted again and again that the police could not force the work. Harry? Chief George pulled a chair and sat in front of the bed. Harry didn't say anything, just stared at him coldly. The alert Chief George naturally felt the coldness, but he didn't feel strange, and he could even understand the hostility revealed by Harry. As a victim, Harry became a little cynical after suffering. He could understand it completely. The doctor said that although Harry's life was not in danger, the burns on his face were very serious, and even plastic surgery could not restore it to its original appearance. Anyone who heard this news would definitely collapse, no matter whether they were men, women, young or old. No one could remain calm after being disfigured. Looking at Harry's appearance, George would also blame himself. The police did not play any role last night, did not protect the citizens, and did not fight criminals. They really just became cleaners to clean up the scene and deal with the mess created by the heroes and villains. Chief George calmly turned on the recording device in his sleeve. Harry, I hope you can cooperate with me. The scene was severely damaged. The police need to learn from you what happened that night, Chief George said in a deep voice. Harry still didn't respond. George said helplessly, okay, let's get straight to the point now. What happened at the venue last night? Director George asked. Where did the Green Goblin who launched the terrorist attack go? And Iron Man, is he involved? What role does Spider-Woman play in the whole thing? The alert Director George found that Harry's eyes suddenly became bright when he heard Green Goblin. Could it be that Harry had a deep impression of the Green Goblin, or was the injury on his face caused by the Green Goblin? Director George couldn't help but have a lot of speculations. No, it's not the Green Goblin, Harry suddenly said. What did you say? Director George was stunned after hearing Harry's voice. Harry's voice was hoarse and sharp, like a person who swallowed charcoal and screaming, and like the harsh sound of two pieces of iron rubbing against each other. The Green Devil was not involved in the attack last night. Someone pretended to be him to cause destruction and massacre. Harry understood every word clearly. That person is the Devil. The Devil? Director George repeated the name in disbelief. Did you see it with your own eyes? I saw it with my own eyes. During the battle, He took off his disguise and revealed the demon mask. Harry swore, "I saw it very clearly." Director George thought with a serious expression. There were many eyewitnesses when the terrorist attack happened last night. The transcripts of those students all showed that it was the Green Devil who stepped on the flying vehicle and threw bombs at them. But now Harry said that it was the devil who played the role. This made Director George confused. In fact, before coming here, the police had just ruled out the possibility of the devil's involvement in the case because they did not find the devil's symbol in the venue. Director George has also handled many cases involving the devil. Whether it was the kidnapping case in the Platinum Heights Hotel or the murder case in the Osborne building, the arrogant devil would always deliberately leave the smiling face with an M on the top and a V on the bottom, once on the wall and once on the desk. If he was responsible for the tragedy last night, he should have left the devil's mark in the most conspicuous place. In the field of criminal investigation, criminal marking behavior refers to a special behavior carried out by criminals to satisfy certain psychological or emotional needs. It is a special and obvious criminal's habit of committing crimes. This shows that the devil never fears the police, and even likes to provoke the police. His intention to leave the devil's mark is also very obvious, announcing to the world that this terror was caused by him. But no one can punish him, and he has established his own powerful image while spreading terror. Moreover, subjectively, Director George did not believe that the devil would disguise himself as a green devil to launch an attack. Only a small thief would do this. He has a certain understanding of the devil, and the devil is happy to add sin to himself. But Director George did not refute him. After all, as a survivor in the venue, Harry may have witnessed something and knew some inside information. The ward fell into a brief silence. Chief George looked at his watch and continued to ask, what was the purpose of the devil's attack? Did he want to murder a student attending the dance, or did he commit a crime simply for the sake of pleasure? No, I don't know. Harry shook his head with difficulty and said, I don't know the devil at all. Last night was the first time I saw him. Where is Iron Man? Our police officers saw him fly away from the window. What role did he play in the attack last night? And Spider-Woman? Chief George looked into Harry's eyes and asked, accomplices? They are all accomplices of the devil. They killed their father, the devil, Iron Man, and Spider-Woman. She is actually your daughter, Gwen Stacy. Harry roared in his heart. But it is obvious that this statement has loopholes. Thank you all for your monthly votes. I will click into read every monthly vote cast by every book friend. Thank you very much. If it weren't for the new book period, I would definitely update it to repay everyone. Chapter 45 The Birth of Two Villains. They tried to stop the demons, Iron Man and Spider-Woman. They had a fierce battle in the venue. Countless injured students suffered secondary injuries and died completely. Harry's eyes were full of gloom, and sadness flowed in his eyes. Iron Man also gave Spider-Woman a set of iron-made battle suits during the battle. Spider-Woman became more powerful after wearing them. Harry pretended to recall, but they were still no match for the demons. The demons destroyed them wantonly. In the end, Iron Man fled in a hurry, and Spider-Woman disappeared. Spider-Woman became more powerful after getting the battle suit. This is a big gain, Director George said. Director George was silent for a few seconds, and he spoke again. The last question. A student was hung up by Spider-Woman last night. What did he do? In the eyes of the police, Peter was a suspect, so he was never in the category of survivors. He didn't do anything. That was our classmate, Peter Parker. Harry said, he and I are both victims, ordinary students attending the dance. He was even bullied by school bullies in school, and he couldn't do anything. Then why was he hung up by Spider-Woman with spider silk? This is the treatment of criminals. Chief George asked. I don't know. Harry looked at him and said, but I know Spider-Woman is not a policeman, and even the police can handcuff the wrong person. Chief George was speechless. He could only say, in most cases, the police will only arrest criminals. Of course, there are also mistakes in their work. No matter what job they do, they will make mistakes in their work. Thank you for everything you told me. This has greatly helped the police's work. Chief George stood up and prepared to leave. He took 2 steps and suddenly turned back. Harry, I don't know if you know this unfortunate news, but I think I should tell you, whether as a policeman or Uncle George, "Your father, Mr. Norman, is missing," Chief George said in a deep voice. "Just last night, after you were admitted to the hospital, the police could not contact Mr. Norman. It is still the same today, and your butler is also very anxious. It should be the police's job to find missing citizens, right?" Harry seemed very calm. "I'm not worried at all. He has often lost contact for short periods of time since he was a child. Maybe he is now writing work reports in a secret laboratory." "Of course, that's the best." Director George looked at Harry deeply. He turned and walked out of the ward. After leaving the ward, Director George ignored the old butler's stern eyes. He said goodbye, and a group of police officers surrounded him in the corridor. "Did you find anything, Chief?" someone asked impatiently. Director George took out the recording device from his sleeve and handed it to him. "Remember to convert it into a transcript, and make a good audio backup." Commissioner George no longer cared about these recordings. He recalled the last scene. When leaving, Commissioner George mentioned the disappearance of Harry's father, Norman Osborn. Harry answered calmly, but the perceptive Commissioner George noticed that the heart rate curve on the ECG blood pressure monitor next to him had obviously changed dramatically. Not long after the police left, someone from a special government department came to the door and asked to have a brief chat with Harry, the survivor of the Midtown Institute of Technology dance tragedy, to learn about what happened last night. The old butler opened the door with a frosty face. "The police chief just finished taking the statement and left," Harry said coldly as he looked at the person outside the door. The visitor had a calm expression and was not affected by Harry's indifference at all. "Phil Coulson, Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency." Coulson took out his ID and showed it to Harry and the old butler. "I'm a victim, not a criminal," Harry said unhappily. "Did I lose my memory after the operation? I don't remember when I did anything that affected the Homeland Strategic Attack Logistics." "I'm sorry your name is so bad." Coulson was unmoved. "Mr. Harry, we are just doing a simple understanding of the terrorist case that happened at Midtown Institute of Technology last night." Harry was silent for a few seconds, and he still said lightly, "Come in." At night, the moon was hidden by dark clouds. The lights in the senior ward were all turned on, and the bedside was full of flowers. The signatures on the bouquet cards were all newspapers or media people: New York Daily, Midtown Weekly, CNN. Now the newly added carnations are signed by the Daily Bugle. "Mr. Harry, are you saying that the devil caused all this, and Spider-Woman teamed up with Iron Man to stop him?" The short-haired reporter took down the recorder and closed it first. "But in previous cases, Spider-Woman is always on the side of the devil, and they teamed up to do evil. Like on the Brooklyn Bridge, Spider-Woman teamed up with the devil and instigated the Lizard Man to attack the police." "So are you sure Spider-Woman didn't commit a crime last night? She must have helped the devil fight Iron Man, right?" "How many innocent students did she kill?" After she finished speaking, she turned on the recorder again and held it up, looking at Harry expectantly. Harry had a headache. This reporter from the Daily Bugle always led him to maliciously discredit Spider-Woman. God knows what hatred the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle had with Spider-Woman. Although Harry wanted to say that Spider-Woman was an accomplice of the devil, to expose Spider-Woman's hypocritical heroic image, and even to reveal her true identity in front of the public. But at this moment, Harry was extremely rational. He had to maintain the consistency of his remarks in every media. "No, I have made it very clear about this issue. The interview is over. I want to rest." Harry impatiently called the housekeeper to drive away the reporter. The door of the ward was closed and it became quiet again. At 12 o'clock in the middle of the night, just when Harry was about to fall asleep, he was suddenly awakened by a sudden movement outside the window. The curtains were closed and he could not see the situation outside. There was a series of knocks on the French window, as if someone was walking on it. But who would be outside on such a high floor? After a few seconds, the curtains were opened, and the outline did not look like a human shape. "Peter?" Harry said uncertainly. No one answered. The curtains were slowly opened by a few spider legs, revealing an ugly and scary spider head. Even though he was mentally prepared, Harry was still shocked. He confirmed again, "Peter, sorry, you have changed a lot." "No need to apologize, Harry." Peter slowly approached the bed, I'm used to strange looks." Both of their voices were abnormal, like the devils crawling out of hell talking. Harry suddenly saw a glass container in Peter's hand, and the quartz tube contained a green reagent. "This is a gift I brought you, Harry. You will like it." Chapter 46 Testing Each Other. The warm afternoon sun shines on the green field. From the playground of Midtown Science and Technology, the skyscrapers of Manhattan are not far away. The terrorist attack that night cast a shadow on this aristocratic school, but students who have not experienced this disaster will only feel sad for a moment at the memorial service reported by the school. After that, everything is the same as before. Every student is seizing the time to release their passionate youth on this campus, and has no time to miss the sadness. In the center of the field, the school football team is conducting daily training. The blue and white teams are fighting fiercely, and bursts of cheers can be heard from time to time. Behind the iron net, Luo Xia and Gwen are sitting on the stands, and the sun casts shadows behind them. Gwen is wearing a sea blue coat, black stockings and over-the-knee boots under her short skirt. She sits sideways opposite Luo Xia, and her soft golden hair hangs down like a waterfall. "Have you read the news today?" Luo Xia handed the phone to Gwen. "Your idol Spider-Woman has done evil again and was caught by the Daily Bugle." Gwen looked at the news. Spider-Woman and the devil launched a terrorist attack at the Midtown Institute of Technology. She kept frowning while browsing. "This is ridiculous. Spider-Woman is so kind that she will help citizens find their lost pet dogs. Will she launch a terrorist attack on us?" Gwen returned the phone to Luo Xia. "No one will believe their nonsense. This is completely a rumor and smear." Luo Xia smiled and shook her head. "That's not necessarily true. The public is ignorant and can easily be misled by unscrupulous media. You can see that their likes and comments are very high. Many people believe their news and leave messages at police to arrest Spider-Woman as soon as possible." Gwen felt a little tired after hearing this. She sighed and leaned her head on Luo Xia's shoulder. "It's so hard to be a good superhero." Suddenly she understood the devil a little. The devil does whatever he wants and is never bound by anyone. It's common for him to cause some destruction and never cause heated discussions. The citizens' requirements for him are also very simple, that is, to cause less destruction and kill fewer people at a time. Many citizens don't even dare to abuse him on the internet, because the devil is also called Satan's messenger, and he might appear in front of those who abused him one day. Actually, this is nothing. Everyone knows that the Daily Bugle specifically blacks Spider-Woman. Their news is not credible. Big media like the New York Daily and CNN didn't slander Spider-Woman. They slandered the devil, Gwen said, while looking up and observing Luo Xia's face. They actually put all the faults of the Green Goblin on the devil. There are so many eyewitnesses who saw it clearly, Gwen complained. All this is thanks to your good friend, Harry Osborn. Luo Xia lowered his head and looked directly into Gwen's eyes. As a rich young man, many people really believe what he said. Because Harry is the only survivor found by the police, everyone thinks that what he said is very true. Gwen rubbed Luo Xia's shoulder with her head. In fact, the media don't care about the truth of the matter. They only care about newspaper sales and clicks. For these, no one will care even if false news is released. There must be some misunderstanding here. Harry doesn't seem like the kind of person who confuses right and wrong. He also has his own pride. Proud people disdain to lie, Gwen said silently. It's a pity that I don't know what happened in the venue that night. In fact, Gwen knew everything. Harry witnessed the devil killing his father with his own eyes, and the hatred was irreconcilable. And Gwen is sure that Harry has fallen asleep in the last few nights planning his revenge plan. It is also Harry's plan to transfer his father's faults to the devil in front of the media, and use public opinion to shape the devil into an unforgivable criminal and make him a public enemy. In this way, the citizens will only hate the devil more, and the police will spend more energy to fight him. Although the real effect may be minimal, Harry has taken the first step towards revenge. But Harry doesn't know that he actually helped the devil invisibly. With his efforts, the devil has been shaped into a symbol of terror. The more people hate and fear the devil, the more villain value he will increase, and the villain value can make him stronger. As you said, you don't know what happened that night, and Harry Osborn witnessed everything. How do you know that he is confusing right and wrong? Luo Xia said with a smile. Gwen retorted, Because my father said that there are many doubts about what Harry said, and the police are still investigating. No one will care whether he is lying, Luo Xia interrupted Gwen. Citizens have always felt that terrorist attacks and demons are a perfect match. I don't think the devil cares about his reputation. Even if rumors spread that the devil is planning to destroy the entire New York, causing panic and abuse among the citizens, the devil won't care. He will just laugh. Not to mention being framed for a terrorist attack. Gwen had already sat up straight. She looked at Luo Xia deeply, and after a long time she said faintly, "You really understand the devil. Sometimes I feel like you are the same person." "It's my honor," Luo Xia muttered. "What?" Gwen didn't hear clearly. "I mean, I really like kissing you." Luo Xia looked at Gwen. "It feels great." He. Gwen smiled. "Me too. Your kissing skills are superb. But you said that was your first kiss. I feel like you are deceiving me." "No. Honesty is a virtue. I have always had this virtue." Luo Xia moved closer and asked, "Maybe I am gifted?" Haha. Gwen patted Luo Xia lightly. Looking at Luo Xia, Gwen slowly closed her eyes. She kept the beautiful arc of her mouth. Luo Xia also smiled, tilted her head and slowly approached. Gwen suddenly raised her hand and caught a fast-flying football with one hand. "Wow, cool," Luo Xia praised. Looking at Gwen he showed a mysterious smile. Just right. It's a complete coincidence." Gwen handed the football to Luo Xia. She made a wrist-flicking motion. "It hurts a little," she grinned, but she was paying attention to Luo Xia's expression without making a sound. The players of the football team stood at the edge of the playground and shouted loudly, asking Luo Xia to throw the ball to him. Luo Xia turned her head and glanced at him calmly, then threw the football with one hand. The trajectory of the football in the air was close to a straight line. Or rather, no one could see its trajectory clearly. The football flew over the stands, and a collision sound was heard, and the player fell to the ground. "Wow, you're cool too." Gwen looked at Luo Xia with shining eyes. "It's also a coincidence." Luo Xia put his arm around Gwen's waist, took the blonde hair off her face with one hand, and kissed her red lips. Chapter 47 Palladium Poisoning in Natasha. Stark Industries building. The R&D room was in a mess. The layout and placement of items here seemed chaotic, but from Tony's point of view, there was a certain order. Tony stood in the main control area. His fingers kept sliding on the screen, and 3D models were holographically projected in front of him. Tony dragged and rotated his fingers to process the details, and the only flaws on the model became perfect. After checking again, Tony transmitted the 3D model data. The 3D printing equipment in the R&D room started working after receiving the data. One by one, fine parts were manufactured and then assembled by the mechanical arm next to it. Weapon research and development. This is also one of Tony's jobs. With the help of these intelligent instruments and mechanical arms in the R&D room, his work efficiency has been greatly improved. Suddenly, there was a sound of broken glass behind him. Tony was slightly stunned and continued to work without looking back. A working mechanical arm knocked over a glass cup, and the cup fell to the floor and shattered, and green liquid spilled all over the floor. "I swear I will tear you apart." "Use that thing to soak your motherboard and make you into a bookshelf," Tony complained. The fingers of the mechanical arm that did something wrong were folded together, and it slowly drooped, looking like a wronged child. A few minutes later, the last part was designed, and Tony rubbed his wrist. The mechanical arm carefully brought a cup of green liquid and gently placed it on the table in front of Tony. Tony looked at the cup of green liquid with a bitter face, and he picked it up and drank half of it in one gulp. "How much more of this stinky stuff should I drink?" Tony frowned and complained, pinching his nose and drinking all the remaining liquid in one breath. "Sir, 80 ounces can eliminate the symptoms of palladium poisoning," Jarvis's voice sounded. 80 ounces is about 2.4 liters. "This is simply a torture for me," Tony said bitterly, "and it's a torture I have to endure every day." Tony took out a small silver metal box from his casual pants pocket and placed it on the table. He pressed the button, and the metal box erected a sharp needle, and he pressed his thumb on the needle. "Jarvis, check the palladium content." A rotating progress bar appeared on the screen, and Jarvis's voice sounded a few seconds later. "Blood toxicity 9%, spreading speed, slow. Jarvis reminded, "Sir, it seems that if you continue to use the iron armor and let the micro-arc reactor, continuously output more energy, the palladium poisoning will be faster. It is recommended that you stop using the iron armor. You should go to the Middle East to warn those terrorists to stop using AK rifles. Otherwise the recoil will sooner or later break their shoulders." Tony ignored Jarvis's warning. He lifted up his t-shirt and took off the arc reactor on his chest. "This palladium energy plate is used up again." Tony turned the arc reactor over, and the mechanical parts at the bottom of the arc reactor unfolded like petals, revealing a CPU-sized palladium energy plate. Tony reached out and took out the palladium energy plate. "They are consumed very quickly," Tony said silently again. He took out a box and opened it. There was a row of palladium energy plates inside. Tony pulled out a piece and reinserted it into the bottom of the arc reactor. "I have simulated every known element, but no element can replace palladium." Jarvis' voice sounded again. "Sir, you are running out of time and options." "Yes, I know. Stop talking nonsense." Tony lifted his t-shirt and put the arc reactor back on his chest. The sound of mechanical linkage sounded, and the arc reactor was embedded in Tony's chest again. Around the arc reactor, many black marks appeared on Tony's chest, like swollen blood vessels, and these black marks have a tendency to spread. "Sir, Miss Natasha is here." Tony looked up and saw a beautiful figure standing behind the glass door. "Silence." Tony gave the order. His physical problem was still a secret, and even Pepper Potts didn't know it yet. The woman named Natasha was standing sideways in front of the door lock and entering the digital password. From the side, her good figure was visible at a glance. Tony's eyes lit up through the glass door. Natasha was wearing a light blue shirt, and the surging wave seemed to burst the shirt. Her long wine red hair hung down, and she was wearing black trousers. Her butt was so raised that it seemed that she could place a goblet steadily. "Who is she?" "Natasha?" "I have never heard of this Russian-style name," Tony asked in confusion. Jarvis had been ordered to mute, and a line of words appeared on the screen. "Natasha Romanov, from the legal department, currently Miss Potts' assistant." Miss Potts once specifically noted that she might cause you to be sued for sexual harassment by your boss. The glass door opened to both sides, and Natasha walked in. "Mr. Stark, I am Miss Potts' assistant. Now there is a document that you need to sign." Natasha had been observing Tony. "Put it on the table." Tony pointed to the table in front of him. Natasha did as he was told, and she looked around calmly. "New employee, I haven't seen you before." Tony glanced at her and asked while signing the document. "I just accepted a job transfer." Natasha replied. "Sorry. Your position will change soon." Tony put the document on the table. "I still need your fingerprint." Natasha pointed to the area after the signature on the document. Tony printed the fingerprint. "Now it's done. Goodbye, Miss Natasha." Natasha smiled and nodded. She turned and walked out of the R&D room. Tony was still during the whole process. He looked at Natasha's back motionlessly. "Jarvis, tell Pepper that I need a new assistant." Tony lowered his head and typed Natasha Romanoff on Google. He browsed Natasha's personal information, proficient in French, Italian, and Latin, which is about to disappear. Tony said to himself, "Who can speak Latin now?" "Sir, I not only speak Latin, but also 5,651 languages in the world." "You are not a human, okay?" Suddenly the sound of the glass door opening was heard. "I didn't expect you to be a model in Tokyo." "Natasha," Tony said and enlarged Natasha's bikini photo on the screen. "Natasha?" A voice that Tony was familiar with and afraid of sounded. "Is that the name of the sexy lady just now?" Tony was stunned. He slowly raised his head and saw the familiar demon mask. After a moment, he couldn't help but be shocked. The reason for his shock was not because he saw the demon. Tony knew that the demon had the ability to be invisible, but Tony also knew that even if the demon was invisible, it could not avoid radar scanning. So after contacting the demon, he asked Jarvis to always turn on the radar scan near Stark Industries. But this time, Jarvis didn't call the police until the demon sneaked into his research and development room. "I'm so tired. Please give me a monthly ticket to support it." Chapter 48, Internship Devil. "Are you surprised to see me, Mr. Stark?" The demon walked in slowly, looking around and strolling leisurely. "No, it's just because you didn't knock on the door, and I was concentrating on my work." After Tony finished talking nonsense, he took a sip of the green liquid on the table. The bitter taste stimulated his taste buds, but he had no expression on his face. Luo Xia naturally knew what Tony was thinking. He deliberately avoided the radar scan near the Stark Industrial Building today. The method was very simple. When approaching the Stark Industrial Building, Luo Xia used the power of the monkey spell to turn himself into a bird. The size of a bird is smaller, and the cross-sectional area of the electromagnetic wave reflected back is smaller, so it will naturally be ignored by Jarvis as error data. "You haven't answered my question yet." Luo Xia waved his hand, and a chair flew over and landed steadily behind him. Let me recall what you asked." "Natasha?" Tony patted his head. "She is my new assistant." A line of words appeared on the screen in front of Tony. "Sir, Miss Potts has not yet officially responded. Do you need to say more?" Tony muttered quietly, and he turned off the screen. "She looks very good, beautiful and capable." Luo Xia smiled. "Mr. Stark, considering your frightened expression when you saw me today, I think you need an employee to be directly responsible for contacting me. Miss Natasha is very good, enough to be competent for this job of sending and receiving emails and answering calls. What do you think?" Luo Xia is naturally not unfamiliar with Natasha. This beautiful and deadly female agent is called Black Widow. Being the only female member of the Avengers is enough to prove her ability. Natasha was originally a former Soviet agent. After betraying the Red Room, she joined SHIELD. After the transformation, her body has greatly slowed down its aging speed, enhanced its immune system and ability to resist blows. With her own years of physical and mental training, she has become like the deadly poisonous spider Black Widow. Her agility surpasses that of an Olympic gold medalist, and she can also coordinate body balance and flexibility. Of course, Natasha's ability is more than that. She can quickly process multiple information streams like Captain America, such as threat assessment, and can quickly respond to changing tactical situations. She is also a very efficient strategist, tactician and commander. She even led SHIELD once. Tony has not yet announced his identity as Iron Man in front of the media, but SHIELD has sent Natasha to approach him. It seems that SHIELD has obtained information about Iron Man from other places. And Luo Xia's purpose of letting Natasha contact herself is also very simple. It doesn't matter whether it leads to a good or bad ending by contacting SHIELD through her. As the most important positive organization, SHIELD is more or less involved with every superhero and will also fight various villains. Luo Xia needs to earn villain points from those superheroes and villains. If Luo Xia extends his power into S.H.I.E.L.D., he will definitely get unexpected gains. But how to intervene in S.H.I.E.L.D. is a problem. Although the top leaders of S.H.I.E.L.D. have been infiltrated by Hydra, it is also the result of Hydra's decades of layout and development. At this time, Natasha, the Black Widow, is a good intervention point. Natasha defected from the Red Room to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Now she has not been in S.H.I.E.L.D. for a long time and has not gained the full trust of S.H.I.E.L.D. Compared to other superheroes, Natasha doesn't have such a strong sense of belief and personal force. If there is anyone in the Avengers who is most likely to be turned, it must be her. Did I hear it wrong? Demons are also interested in sexy human women? Tony was a little surprised. But let a woman talk to the demon, she won't be scared to death when she sees you, right? Luo Xia just looked at him indifferently. After confirming that the demon was not joking, Tony also changed his face to be serious. He seemed to have no ability to refuse the demon. "Jarvis, help me issue a personnel transfer order." Natasha Romanoff from the legal department will be transferred to the chairman's assistant to be responsible for my direct contact with Mr. Demon. Tony walked out of the center console, and the mechanical arm on the side brought 2 glasses. "Whiskey, do you want to drink?" Tony raised his glass to Luo Xia. "I also prepared white wine and soju in the R&D room. Which one suits your taste?" Because the demon always shows black hair, Tony will think that he is most likely an Asian. After all, black-haired people in the United States account for 5.4% of the total population, of which Asians account for 4.4%, and Indians and Alaska Natives account for 1.0%. No, I can't drink, Mr. Stark. Luo Xia refused. Why? You don't like human alcoholic drinks? Tony was very curious about everything about demons. It's impossible that demons are allergic to alcohol, right? No, because I haven't reached the legal drinking age. Luo Xia shrugged and said, you know, I always abide by the law. Tony was shocked and his chin dropped. The wine glass in his hand almost slipped. This certainly wasn't because of the demon's joke that he abides by the law. Mr. Demon, you are not yet 21 years old? Tony was shocked. It should be that the way demons and humans count their ages is different, right? Or is it like your demon lifespan is 10,000 years, and now you have only lived for more than 1,000 years? According to the proportion, you are only a teenager of humans? No, 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 I am 18 years old this year, just an adult, Luo Xia said with a smile in his eyes. This is normal. After all, Spider-Woman Gwen is only 17 years old. Mr. Demon, you mean? Tony paused and asked, you mean you are also a human, an American citizen? You should still be in high school at your age. Of course, being a demon is just one of my jobs. High school students need to participate in social practice. Luo Xia nodded. Tony was speechless. What the hell is social practice? The intern demon is so scary. He roams around New York every day and kills people without mercy. What will happen when he gets a formal job? The whole world will tremble under his shadow, right? This world is too crazy. Tony lost his voice. Excuse me, your childhood must have been very unfortunate, right? I once read in a book that to create a villain, you only need to give him a miserable childhood. That's really disappointing to you. I have been very lucky since I was a child. Luo Xia spread his hands and said, of course, if you want to be blown to ashes like the green demon that night, we can continue this topic. No, I don't want to. Tony took a sip of whiskey to suppress the shock in his heart. We can start the formal topic. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Demonic Creation. Before coming here, I saw a fat man at the door of the chairman's office on the same floor. Many employees were surrounding him. They looked aggressive and ill-intentioned. Luo Xia pretended to be concerned. He looks like a traitor, as if he wants to usurp your rights and position. No, that's Obadiah Stane, one of the founders of Stark Industries and a major shareholder. Tony introduced. He used to work with my father and helped me lead Stark Industries. I trust him very much. He should be here tonight for the launch of the ARC project. Pepper will be busy again. Do you know about the ARC project? Tony boasted. Another amazing work of mine. Several ARC reactors are connected in series. The output energy is comparable to that of a nuclear power plant. Stark Industries can even use it to transform from an arms dealer to an energy supplier. No, I'm not interested in this. Luo Xia waved his hand to interrupt him. Devil is a high-paying job. I can still pay for water, electricity, gas and heating. Of course, Luo Xia would not remind Tony that Stane had rebellious intentions. After Stane, wearing Iron Man, beats him up and gives Tony a little frustration, he can still appear to harvest a wave of villain points. It shouldn't take long. The mechanical arm behind started working again. So Mr. Demon, what are you doing here tonight? Tony wanted to send the demon away as soon as possible. You didn't pass by Stark Industries and wanted to come in to chat, did you? I don't believe it. I'm not Spider-Woman. You are very self-aware, Mr. Stark. Luo Xia threw a USB flash drive to Tony again. I'm here to order a batch of figurines, or model toys or something. The drawings are inside. Iron Man frowned and inserted the USB flash drive into the computer. He opened the USB flash drive, and as the demon said, it was a 3D model of two toys. One is Godzilla, the other is Pikachu. Tony was stunned. Could it be that the demon's true identity is a toy supplier, or a fan of monsters and Pokemon? What kind of advanced weapon is this? Why can't I see the weapon configuration details? Tony asked puzzled. No weapons, I said. These are model toys. Luo Xia smiled, but Tony felt that the devil was brewing some kind of conspiracy. Tony's mind was already confused. The devil, who was rampant in New York and represented terror and destruction in the eyes of the citizens, was actually a heavy model toy enthusiast. What Godzilla and Pikachu needed him to build personally. He was the top scientist and weapon inventor, but the fact was that Luo Xia was preparing for the rat spell. The rat spell had the life force to turn stillness into movement. It could give life to inanimate things. For example, Luo Xia could use the model of Godzilla to create a real Godzilla, but all this was Luo Xia's advanced preparation. Now the unsealed rat spell could only make the doll do basic movements, and could not give it more energy, let alone let it have the various abilities in the setting. Well, I won't try to understand the devil's idea. Tony shrugged and said, electric drive or fuel drive? Your drawings are very simple. If it is equipped with Stark Industries arc reactor, it will definitely be cool, but the cost will become very high. No, just build it completely according to the drawings. All the data are marked. The quantity is 10 of each. Luo Xia interrupted him. Remember to make the appearance cooler. Remember to spray my demon mark in a conspicuous place, and then print the English words demon creation under the mark. Okay, I think this is the effect you want to express. Tony turned on the screen. A demon logo that belongs to you. Soon a logo that met Luo Xia's description appeared on the screen. Luo Xia was very satisfied. Regardless of his intention, Tony cooperated with him obediently. The only requirement is the material. You must choose a metal with stronger defense and higher hardness, such as gold titanium alloy. Of course, Stark products. Quality assurance. Tony saluted. The clumsy mechanical arm brought another cup of green liquid. Tony took a sip. The palladium element would continue to spread in the blood. He also had to drink this liquid at any time to suppress it. My mission is completed. Are you leaving now? Tony raised his glass to indicate. Would you like a cup of the new drink Stark is researching? No, I don't want to drink chlorophyll. Luo Xia exposed him mercilessly. Mr. Stark, the miniature arc reactor in your chest is rapidly causing palladium metal poisoning in the blood. Fortunately, I don't have to wear a glowing light bulb on my chest. Tony's smile froze a little. I thought your reminder was just a coincidence, but I didn't expect you to really see the problem with my body. You didn't use any medical equipment, and you didn't even get close to me. Tony's eyes were a little complicated. In addition to violence and destruction, the devil is also proficient in medicine. Tony stared at the devil, but saw the devil smiling and said, thinking about these, it's better to think about how to spend the short life you have left. You are a playboy, and partying every night is very suitable for you. That smile was like a gloating smile. Tony wanted to use his iron fist to blow his head, but he knew that even if his iron armor was upgraded to Mark 50, he couldn't beat the devil. Is there any way you can help me? We are friends, Tony asked tentatively. Aren't you a devil? The devil is omnipotent. No one can face death calmly, let alone a playboy and a billionaire. Tony's life is beautiful every day. Of course, the devil answered decisively, which made Tony's eyes light up. As Jorvis said before, he has simulated every element, but none of them can replace palladium. Even a genius like Tony cannot solve this problem that is reaping his life. But Tony tried his best to remain calm on the surface. Any literary and film works show one thing. Trading with the devil is the beginning of falling into hell. So what do you want to exchange? Luo Xia said with a serious face. You know, I am not interested in the wealth you have. The weapons or iron suits you developed are all useless to me. What else do you have? Are you willing to exchange your soul for your life? Tony's face was deep, and he didn't speak. Ha ha ha. Luo Xia left with a laugh, and the glass door opened automatically. He turned around and said, you can think about it, and remember my little toys. The figure of the devil disappeared in an instant, and Tony sat motionless on the chair. Only the mechanical arm was still shaking in confusion. Chapter 50. Steve Rogers. Another pitch, a foul ball. Then the score with the Dodgers is tied at 4-4, in a single ward decorated in an old-fashioned style. The radio was broadcasting an intense baseball game. The patient on the bed did not look injured or weak. His clothes were bulging with his chest muscles, and he looked strong and healthy, so he lay there as if he was asleep. He was not wearing a uniform hospital gown, but a white t-shirt, khaki trousers and brown boots. A gust of wind blew in from the window, blowing the white curtains and gently caressing his face. Suddenly he opened his eyes. Time seemed to stand still for a few seconds, and he slowly moved his body and struggled to sit on the edge of the bed. He looked around with a blank face. The lower part of the wall was painted light green, and the upper part and the ceiling were painted white. The three-blade fan on the ceiling was rotating slowly. There was a portable radio on the table, with carnations inserted next to it, and a heating pad under the fluttering curtains. The room's decoration was very familiar to him. He had performed in various states to help congressmen sell national debts. After the performance, he would often be arranged to visit the wounded in the local army hospital. The wards in those hospitals were like this. The radio continued to broadcast the voice broadcast of the baseball game. He bent up, pitched, swung the bat, and made an arc. He passed Grimson. The Dodgers scored. Suddenly, the patient looked back at the old-fashioned radio in disbelief. Rizzo scored, and Razor ran to third base. At this time, the door of the ward was pushed open, and a woman walked in. The woman was wearing a gray-white shirt, and her tie and one-piece skirt were all army green. This style of dress made the patient feel very familiar. He once had a female friend who loved to dress like this. Her name was Peggy Carter. "Good morning, Captain Rogers." The woman smiled and looked at her watch. "To be precise, it should be good afternoon. Where am I?" Steve Rogers looked at the woman with a blank face. "You are in a post-operative recovery room in New York," the woman explained. "Although you have woken up, the doctor said you still need to rest, so you can lie down now." Steve looked at the woman without saying anything, and the radio beside him continued to broadcast. "The Dodgers are leading 8-4. It's incredible. No one thought they could win since the start of the game. Please give applause to all the players and thank them for bringing a wonderful game." Steve looked back at the radio, and after a moment he asked again, "Where am I? I don't quite understand what you mean, Captain Rogers." The woman smiled reluctantly. "You disappeared in the Arctic, and the military spent a lot of effort to search for you." "The game was in Los Angeles in May 1941, Steve interrupted the woman. "I know, because I was there." The expression on the woman's face changed slightly, and she suddenly remembered that the baseball league broadcasts of that era were all broadcast in real time, serving countless fans who could not arrive at the scene. But the staff who selected the broadcast made a mistake. He found a baseball game that took place before Captain Rogers fell into a coma. The most terrible thing was that Captain Rogers happened to go to the scene to watch the game. This caused all the other preparations made by S.H.I.E.L.D. to go to waste. "I'll ask you again, where am I?" Steve stood up and slowly approached the woman. The woman calmly pressed the pager in her hand. "Captain Rogers, please stay calm. I can answer all your questions for you." The door of the ward was pushed open again, and several fully armed explosion-proof personnel entered the ward with guns. The woman suddenly felt a little bad. She saw the anger on Steve's face. These explosion-proof personnel made the situation worse. "Captain Rogers," the woman was about to explain, but Steve had already taken action. He had extremely rich combat experience and had made the most correct judgment when facing several armed enemies. Steve had led people to raid Hydra's secret base many times during World War II, and this armed force could not stop him at all. An explosion-proof personnel was kicked against the wall, and a large hole was instantly knocked open in the temporary wall. Steve rushed out of the hole without hesitation and ran out along the passage. The woman came to the cave entrance and called out, "Captain Rogers, wait." But Steve, who was a little excited, did not respond. She looked at Steve's back and took out the walkie-talkie. "Attention all agents, emergency alert." Steve, who had come all the way to the hall, also heard the broadcast. "Attention all agents, emergency alert." The hall was full of staff in black suits, and the outline of gun butts could be seen on their waists. Steve rushed to the door without hesitation. Several black-clad agents blocked his way, and Steve easily knocked them away and broke out of the door. It was not until he rushed to the road that Steve felt something was wrong. The vehicles on the road looked strange, and people were dressed more fashionably. And the LED screens and billboards on the high-rise buildings were also novel to him. This busy street was too prosperous. Before joining the war, he had been to the busiest streets in New York, and it was much inferior to this. Everything was weird. If the woman had not just talked to him in English, he would have thought he had come to an alien planet. Steve, who was bewildered, had no time to think too much. He ran on the road, but his speed gradually slowed down in the noisy crowd. Steve turned in circles on the spot. On the busy streets, looking at the unfamiliar city, he suddenly lost his direction. In the sound of car horns, he was confused and didn't know where to go. Several black cars drove in from all directions and surrounded him. Police officers in uniforms got out of the cars. They surrounded Steve in the middle and dispersed the onlookers. "Don't be nervous, soldier." Just as Steve was thinking about which direction to break out, he heard this voice. He turned around and saw a one-eyed black man wearing a black windbreaker. He seemed to be the leader of this group of people. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Nick Fury. I'm deeply sorry for the performance just now, but..." Nick pressed his hands down and said, "We think it's best for you to accept everything slowly." "Accept what?" Steve turned to face him. "You've been sleeping, Captain." Nick tried to convince Steve, "It's hard to believe, but you've been sleeping for about 70 years. Steve looked around in shock, and Nick even saw the confusion in the eyes of this powerful warrior. "Are you okay?" "No." Steve shook his head. "I'm fine, but I have a date." "How should I call Captain America from now on? I always feel that Steve is weird, reminding me of my world. Rogers, or just Captain America?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.